Welcome to Cello. At readcello.com, you create personalized novels based on your input. You can also find a library of ebooks and audiobooks just like this one. This free audiobook of Fractured Realities is brought to you by readcello.com. Enjoy the book. Fractured Realities has been written and narrated by the amazing team at readcello.com. Dedication. This book is dedicated to the intellectual adventurer. The intellectual adventurer reads to explore, not just worlds, but ideas, philosophies, and the very fabric of existence. They crave stories that challenge their mind, that present complex questions, intricate plots, and deep themes that leave them thinking long after they've turned the last page. For them, reading is a quest for knowledge wrapped in a thrilling narrative. Whether it's uncovering the secrets of a lost civilization, questioning the nature of reality, or navigating a morally complex world, they want depth, intrigue, and intellectual engagement, all while embarking on an unforgettable adventure. Fractured Realities. Chapter 1, The Scholar's Sanctuary. Elowen stood amidst towering shelves in her sanctuary, surrounded by ancient texts and artifacts that whispered secrets of the past. The air was thick with the scent of aged parchment, each book a testament to the knowledge contained within. Sunlight filtered through the high windows, casting a warm glow on her workspace, where she meticulously organized her research. With purpose, she reached for a large tome, its spine cracked from years of use, and began to page through it, her heart racing with curiosity. Each page revealed insights into forgotten civilizations and arcane philosophies, stirring a desire for discovery deep within her. This was not just her daily routine. It was a quest for truths that could reshape her understanding of the world and ignite the spark of adventure she craved. Elowen pulled an ancient manuscript from the shelf, the weight of it both thrilling and daunting as she flipped through its fragile pages. Her fingers trembled with excitement as she discovered references to a powerful artifact, one that had been lost to time and myth, igniting her imagination. Carefully, she began to jot down vital notes in her journal, determined to connect the dots of history that could lead her to this long-forgotten relic. However, a flicker of doubt crossed her mind as she recalled her mentor's warning to tread carefully. Such pursuits often came with great risk. She pushed the thought aside, driven by an insatiable curiosity that refused to be quelled. Elowen knew that uncovering the truth was her calling, and each new find only deepened her commitment to explore the depths of knowledge, daring to challenge the boundaries of her ordinary life. Just as Elowen immersed herself in deciphering the manuscript, her mentor entered the sanctuary with a stern expression, causing her heart to race. "Elowen, you need to be cautious," he warned, his voice echoing slightly in the quiet room, cutting through her excitement like a knife. She looked up, tension creeping into her shoulders. "I'm just trying to understand what this means," she replied, hoping to defend her passion for discovery. Her mentor approached, concern etched on his features. "Knowledge is powerful, but some truths can be dangerous. It's essential to tread lightly." Elowen swallowed hard, feeling a mixture of frustration and respect for his experience. "But if I don't seek the truth, who will?" She shot back, a fire igniting in her as she stood her ground, the tension between them growing as she fought for her right to explore. Elowen's heart raced as she sensed the gravity of her mentor's warning, the tension hanging in the air between them. "I understand the risks, but isn't it worth it to explore what's out there?" she pressed, her voice wavering slightly but filled with conviction. Her mentor sighed, glancing around the sanctuary, the weight of wisdom resting on his shoulders. "It's not just about what's out there. It's about the consequences of uncovering it," he replied, his tone softer yet firmer, urging her to consider the deeper implications of her pursuit. Elowen felt a pulse of defiance surge within her. Knowledge should not be feared. It should be embraced. We owe it to those who came before us to seek the truth. This moment marked a shift in their dynamic, challenging her mentor's protective instincts, while showcasing Elowen's growing confidence and ambition to uncover the mysteries of the past. With a firm nod, Elowen tucked the manuscript under her arm, determination blazing in her eyes. "I'm going to find the artifact, whether anyone thinks it's a risk or not. This is my path." Her mentor watched her with a mix of admiration and concern, knowing he could not quell her ambition. "Just promise me you'll be careful, Elowen. The world isn't as forgiving as you might think." Elowen paused at the door, feeling the weight of his words but dismissing the doubt creeping in. "I'll be cautious, but I won't be held back," she replied, her voice resolute, signaling her commitment to pursuing the truth despite the dangers. With that final declaration, she crossed the threshold, stepping into the unknown, ready to embrace the adventure that awaited her and determined to carve her own destiny. As Elowen stepped outside, the air felt alive with possibilities, mingling with the anticipation of the adventure that lay ahead. The sun was just beginning to rise, casting a golden hue over the landscape and illuminating the path before her. She took a moment to inhale deeply, feeling a mix of excitement and apprehension as she mentally steeled herself for the journey. Aidan joined her side, his presence a comforting reminder of the partnership they had forged in pursuit of knowledge. "Ready for this?" he asked, his voice laced with both excitement and concern. "I am," Elowen replied, determination grounding her courage as they set off together, leaving behind the familiar comforts of home in search of the truths waiting to be uncovered. Chapter 2: A Fateful Encounter. Elowen navigated the bustling streets of the city, absorbing the vibrant energy around her. The air was filled with the sounds of merchants hawking their wares, laughter spilling from open taverns, and the scent of spices mingling with the cool morning breeze. As she moved through the crowd, she felt both exhilarated and overwhelmed, the city teeming with life and opportunity, a stark contrast to the quietude of her sanctuary. Cale's words echoed in her mind, urging her to explore beyond the familiar confines, and she embraced the call of adventure. Spotting a vendor standing near a corner stall, she approached to ask for directions to a nearby library, rumored to hold ancient texts that could assist her quest. "Excuse me, could you point me to the information center?" she asked, her curiosity shining through as she engaged with the bustling environment. The vendor looked up from his stall, where a colorful array of trinkets and scrolls were displayed. "Ah, the library? Just head straight down this street and take a left at the fountain," he replied, nodding toward a vibrant plaza bustling with activity. Elowen thanked him, her excitement bubbling as she imagined the knowledge waiting to be uncovered. As she started to make her way toward the fountain, she couldn't shake the feeling that something was amiss in the air, an undercurrent of tension that sent a shiver down her spine. Shaking off her concern, Elowen pushed forward, determined to seek out the wisdom within the library's walls. With every step, she felt a blend of anticipation and possibility, driving her toward the unknown adventures that lay ahead. As Elowen navigated the busy street, she caught a glimpse of a group of individuals gathered nearby, their voices hushed and animated. Curiosity piqued, she slowed her pace, straining to catch snippets of their conversation, understanding immediately that they were discussing something urgent. "Heard about more shipments disappearing. The syndicate is tightening its grip," one man was saying, his expression a mix of frustration and fear. Elowen's heart quickened, the implications of their chatter weighing heavily on her mind. She considered approaching them, but a small voice of caution whispered, urging her to be wary. Instead, Elowen decided to keep moving, the need to gather knowledge about the artifact driving her forward, even as questions about the syndicate's activities lingered in her thoughts. Elowen quickened her pace, determined to reach the library and delve into the secrets it held, but the whispers she had overheard echoed in her mind. What if the syndicate was more powerful than they realized? As she approached the fountain, she halted to gather her thoughts, the splashing water momentarily calming her racing heart. In that moment of stillness, she reflected on the risks she had taken thus far and how every decision seemed to ripple outwards, shaping not just her journey, but the lives of those in her community. Taking a deep breath, she shook off her doubts and focused on the immediate task at hand, knowing she had to stay vigilant. Elowen straightened her shoulders, the resolve within her crystallizing as she headed toward the library, ready to uncover the knowledge that could help in their fight against the syndicate. Elowen arrived at the grand entrance of the library, its doors seemingly inviting yet imposing. The scent of old books wafted through the air, filling her with a profound sense of belonging. She stepped inside, her heart racing as she prepared to search for any documents related to the artifact. The library was quiet, save for the faint rustle of pages and the soft echoes of footsteps, but she could feel the weight of the knowledge housed within its walls. As she wandered the aisles, she spotted a familiar face, an older scholar named Malin, who had always been a source of wisdom and guidance. "Elowin," he greeted her warmly, but there was a hint of concern in his voice. "What brings you here today? You should be careful. Things are changing in the city." Elowin turned to Malin, sensing the weight behind his words. "I know, but I need to find information about the artifact," she explained, her voice tinged with determination. "It's important, and I can't ignore what I've discovered." Malin studied her carefully, a look of understanding flickering in his eyes. "The search for knowledge carries risks, especially now," he cautioned, concern etching his features. "I'm willing to face those risks," Elowin replied, her resolve hardening. "This is about more than just the artifact. It's about uncovering truths that need to be known." Malin sighed, recognizing her fierce spirit but feeling the weight of responsibility for her safety. "Just promise me you'll be careful, Elowin. The world is not as forgiving as it once seemed." She nodded, appreciating his concern, but feeling an inner strength blossoming, ready to embrace the unknown as she delved deeper into her quest for truth. Chapter 3: The Call to Action. Elowin sat at her desk, poring over the latest manuscripts she had gathered, excitement bubbling within her as she decoded intricate scripts. Her fingers traced the symbols with care, each line of text revealing secrets of an ancient civilization that had long vanished from history. As she read, a chill crept down her spine when she stumbled upon a passage referencing the consequences of awakening the artifact's power. "What if these warnings are true?" she whispered, a fleeting moment of doubt washing over her as she considered the potential dangers lurking behind her quest. Determined to find answers, Elowin put the documents aside and resolved to reach out to her connections at the academy, intent on gathering more information before proceeding with her investigation. With newfound urgency, she grabbed her journal to jot down questions that arose from the alarming revelations, eager to press forward despite the unsettling unknown. Elowin quickly gathered her notes and decided to visit the academy, hoping to find answers to the questions swirling in her mind. The path to the academy was familiar, yet today it felt charged with new significance, her heart racing with curiosity and determination. Once inside the grand hall, she made her way toward the archives, where she knew a wealth of knowledge awaited. She approached a librarian, an older woman with kind eyes, and asked, "Can you help me find any texts about the artifact mentioned in the ancient manuscripts?" The librarian raised an eyebrow, sensing the urgency in Elowin's request. "We have several works on myths and artifacts, but what you seek may lead to unknown dangers." Elowin nodded, understanding the weight of her inquiry. "I need to understand its history. The potential consequences are too significant to ignore." The librarian regarded her thoughtfully, then motioned for Elowin to follow, leading her toward a section of the archives filled with dusty tomes and forgotten histories, ready to unearth whatever truths they might hold. As they entered the archives, the scent of aged paper filled Elowin's lungs, igniting a thrill of anticipation. Rows upon rows of ancient texts loomed before her, the weight of knowledge enveloping and inspiring her quest for truth. "Here," the librarian said, stopping to point at a particularly old tome bound in faded leather, its title barely legible. "This book contains references to the artifact, but be warned, some of these accounts are steeped in myth and lore." Elowin reached for the book, her fingers brushing against the soft leather as she carefully pulled it from the shelf. "Thank you. I'll sift through the accounts to find what's relevant," she replied, her determination evident as she prepared to dive into the wealth of information contained within. Feeling the weight of her quest, Elowin opened the tome, ready to navigate the world of knowledge, while remaining cautious of the shadows of danger lingering just beyond her reach. Elowin settled into a nearby reading nook, the ambient light casting a warm glow on the pages of the ancient tome. She opened it carefully, the musty scent of paper enveloping her as words began to leap off the pages, detailing the artifact's history and its ties to past civilizations. Those who seek it will face both wonders and calamities. Eowyn read aloud, her brow furrowing at the implications of the prophecy. A sense of urgency gripped her. The warnings embedded within the text felt more real than mere legends, pressing her to consider the weight of her pursuit. Just then, she sensed Aiden's presence nearby, watching her intently as he crossed his arms, concern etched on his features. "Are you sure you want to pursue this? You saw how the council reacted." Eowyn looked up, determination flaring in her eyes. "I can't turn back now. I need to understand the truth, no matter what it costs," she replied firmly, resolved to move forward despite the risks. This exchange deepened their bond, as Aiden recognized the fire in Eowyn's spirit and decided to support her journey, even with his unease lingering in the background. Eowyn continued to scan the pages, her mind racing as she pieced together the fragments of information scattered throughout the text. She began to jot down notes, formulating questions that emerged from the cryptic references regarding the artifact's power. "This could be much more dangerous than we anticipated," she muttered, feeling a pang of uncertainty but driven by an insatiable curiosity. Aiden leaned over her shoulder, glancing at her notes. "What are you thinking? I can help if you want." Eowyn paused, contemplating his offer, but she shook her head slightly. "I need to do this myself, Aiden. I have to figure out how this all connects." His supportive demeanor reassured her, but Eowyn could see the underlying tension in his eyes. "Just be careful, all right? The walls might have ears," he replied, a hint of concern lacing his tone as he stepped back to give her space while remaining vigilant. This moment underscored Eowyn's commitment to uncovering the truth, while navigating the delicate balance between curiosity and the dangers that awaited. Eowyn immersed herself in the text, tracing the lines with her finger as she absorbed the information, her excitement building with each revelation. Suddenly, a line caught her eye, tantalizing hints of hidden locations and the history behind the artifact's last known whereabouts. With a surge of determination, she jotted down crucial notes, aware that each detail could be pivotal in their quest. "Aiden," she called, her excitement infectious. "I think I found a lead. It's mentioned here. If we can follow this up, it might lead us to where the artifact is hidden." Aiden joined her side, his furrowed brow easing as he examined her notes, his skepticism slowly transforming into intrigue. "Let's check this out. It could be the breakthrough we need," he replied, enthusiasm sparking as they prepared to act on the newfound knowledge. Eowyn realized that this moment not only redirected their plans, but also reinforced the connection between them, their partnership evolving with each challenge they faced together. Chapter 4, The Hidden Threat. Eowyn and Aiden set out early the next morning, the cool air filled with the promise of discovery as they ventured toward the hidden location described in the scrolls. The forest surrounding them was dense and alive with the sounds of chirping birds and rustling leaves, creating a sense of adventure that both excited and unnerved Eowyn. As they walked deeper into the woods, her mind buzzed with expectation and anticipation, but a whisper of uncertainty lingered at the edges of her thoughts. "Are you sure this is the right way?" Aiden asked, glancing at the crumpled map in Eowyn's hands, his unease seeping through despite his efforts to stay steady. Eowyn paused, assessing their surroundings while recalling the landmark descriptions from the texts, determined to trust her instincts. "This should lead us to the clearing near the ruins," she replied, her voice firm as she steeled herself against the doubts creeping in, the pull of adventure driving her forward. As they continued their journey, the sunlight filtered through the trees, creating intricate patterns on the forest floor that shifted with every step. Eowyn couldn't help but feel a sense of wonder at the beauty surrounding her, a stark contrast to the seriousness of their quest. Suddenly, they came to a fork in the path, and Eowyn hesitated as she studied the map, uncertainty creeping in again. "This doesn't look right," she murmured, frowning at the unfamiliar terrain. Aiden stepped forward, trying to alleviate the tension. "Let's not overthink it. If we take the left path, we can backtrack if it doesn't lead us in the right direction." Eowyn appreciated his calm demeanor and decided to trust his instincts, even as a part of her yearned for the clarity of a sure route. "Okay, let's go left," she agreed, determination returning as they forged ahead, steeling herself for whatever lay beyond. As they ventured further down the left path, the trees thickened, their branches arching overhead like a natural cathedral. Eowyn remained acutely aware of the rustling around them, each sound amplifying her anticipation as they pushed deeper into unknown territory. Aiden paused, frowning as he glanced back at her. "You sure we're headed the right way?" Eowyn felt a rush of determination, masking the flicker of doubt. "Yes, the description said to follow the path until we see the ancient oak. It should be nearby." Suddenly, she spotted a massive tree ahead, its gnarled roots sprawling across the ground like fingers reaching for the sky, and she felt a thrill of excitement. "That's it!" she exclaimed, pointing, her previous uncertainty melting away as a sense of purpose filled the air, guiding them closer to their goal. With renewed energy, they quickened their pace toward the oak, eager to uncover the mysteries that lay in its shadow. As they reached the ancient oak, Eowyn felt a sense of reverence wash over her, the ancient tree standing as a testament to the passage of time and history. The air felt electric, charged with the weight of what they were about to uncover, and she instinctively ran her fingers along the rough bark, feeling the stories woven into its fibers. "Aiden, look here," she said, pointing to a series of carvings etched into the tree, symbols resembling those she had seen in her studies. Aiden stepped closer, his eyes wide with astonishment. "These could lead us to the knowledge we seek," he said, excitement creeping into his voice as he traced the lines with his finger. But as they leaned in to examine the carvings, a faint sound echoed through the trees, a rustling that hinted at movement nearby. Eowyn's heartbeat quickened, her instincts kicking in as she exchanged a wary glance with Aiden. "We should stay alert," she whispered, aware that their mission might attract unwanted attention. With the sound growing closer, Eowyn and Aiden instinctively positioned themselves behind the enormous trunk of the ancient oak, the rough bark providing a shield as they peered into the underbrush. Eowyn held her breath, straining to listen as the rustling intensified, her mind racing through possibilities of what could be lurking just beyond their view. "Do you think it's the syndicate?" Aiden whispered, his eyes scanning the area for any movement. Eowyn shook her head, trying to suppress the fear creeping in. "I don't know. We need to be ready for anything." As they waited in silence, Cale suddenly stepped into view, approaching quickly from a different angle and raising his hand to signal he was alone. Relief flooded over Eowyn, but the moment of tension lingered as she realized they couldn't afford to let their guard down, no matter who it was. Cale approached the ancient oak, his posture relaxed but vigilant, sensing the tension that had built between Eowyn and Aiden. "Everything all right?" he asked, glancing between the two, his voice steady as he tried to dissipate any lingering unease. Eowyn stepped out from behind the trunk, relief washing over her. "We heard something in the woods," she explained, still keeping her senses alert. Aiden followed her lead, concerned but grateful for Cale's presence, feeling the camaraderie between them begin to re-establish itself. Cale frowned, realizing that their mission was fraught with potential dangers, but he pushed the thought aside. "Let's focus on what's ahead. The carvings may lead us to crucial information." Eowyn nodded, her resolve re-energized. "Right. Let's decipher these markings before we go further." Together, they positioned themselves in front of the ancient oak once more, determined to unravel the mysteries hidden within its bark and uncover the knowledge that would guide their journey. Chapter 5: The Investigation. Eowyn and Aiden gathered their courage as they stepped deeper into the ruins, the air thick with anticipation and the mysteries that enveloped them. The dim light filtered through cracks in the stone walls, casting eerie shadows that danced around them, reflecting the uncertainty of what lay ahead. Cale, taking the lead, carefully examined the intricate carvings embedded into the walls, their details resembling those they had seen on the oak. "Look at this," he called, gesturing for Eowyn to join him. Her curiosity piqued as she moved closer to take in the ancient symbols. "This looks like it could be a map of the region," Eowyn speculated, excitement bubbling within her as she began to analyze the markings, her mind racing with possibilities. They realized that their investigation was proving fruitful. uncovering hidden clues that would propel them closer to understanding the artifact and the ancient civilization connected to it. As they delved deeper into the patterns of the carvings, Elowen's excitement was overshadowed by an unsettling realization. "Wait, this isn't just a map," she murmured, her brow furrowing as she noticed symbols that hinted at more than just geography. The implications struck her hard. These markings seemed to indicate ancient rituals tied to the artifact, raising questions about the dangers they might uncover. Kale's expression shifted as he leaned closer. "What do you mean?" he asked, sensing her concern as he examined the symbols with renewed scrutiny. "It suggests that the artifact could have been used for a purpose far beyond what we initially thought," she replied, her voice steady but filled with urgency. This discovery opened up a floodgate of possibilities and risks, illustrating the complexity of the situation they were stepping into as the gravity of their quest settled over them. Elowen's heart raced as she laid out her thoughts into the open air, sensing Kale's intensity beside her. "If this artifact was tied to ancient rituals," she began, her voice steady despite the weight of the implications, "we could be getting in over our heads." Kale nodded, absorbing the gravity of her words. "What are you suggesting? We should turn back?" "No," she responded quickly, shaking her head. "We can't back down now. We need to prepare ourselves for the truths we might uncover." Aiden, who had been absorbing their conversation, chimed in. "Are you sure we're ready for whatever this might lead to, Elowen?" His concern echoed the doubts that lingered in the back of her mind, but she felt a surge of determination. "We need to face it head on. Ignoring it would only leave us unprepared." Kale felt the gravity of her decision echo around them, recognizing that this moment was a defining step in their journey, shaping not only their paths, but the very nature of their mission. As Elowen spoke, she could feel the weight of her words settling in among her companions, their expressions a mix of apprehension and resolve. Kale took a moment, his brow furrowed in concentration as he considered her proposal. "If we're going to do this, we need to strategize every step and ensure we're prepared for anything." Elowen nodded, feeling a surge of confidence at his willingness to engage seriously with her concerns. "Let's create a list of what we need. Supplies, information, whatever we can gather." Aiden chimed in, "And we should set up contingency plans. If we encounter resistance, we need to be ready to adapt quickly." The conversation shifted into a brainstorming session, and Kale began jotting down notes as they discussed the resources they might need. Elowen watched as her companions rallied around the new plan, feeling the bond between them strengthen as their collective commitment took shape. With their determination renewed, Kale finally looked up from his notes, a sense of clarity in his eyes. "Let's do this together and keep each other safe." As the team discussed their preparations, Elowen felt a surge of hope amidst the uncertainty. With each suggestion shared, she noticed the atmosphere shift, tension melting away as they collectively focused on their mission. "I can reach out to some contacts in the city to gather additional equipment," Aiden proposed, his confidence bolstered by their discussions. Elowen nodded approvingly, grateful for his willingness to pitch in. "And I'll look into any historical records that could provide additional context on the artifact." Kale interjected, "Let's ensure we keep communication lines open. If anything changes, we need to adapt on the spot." The level of trust among them was palpable, and Elowen felt invigorated by their commitment to each other's safety and success. As they wrapped up their conversation, she realized that they had transformed their initial fears into a unified resolve, ready to face whatever awaited them on their journey. With their tasks set, Elowen felt a burst of excitement mixed with the lingering unease of their mission ahead. "Let's meet back here in 2 hours to share our findings and finalize the plan," Kale instructed, his voice steady, instilling confidence. As the team began to disperse, Elowen felt the weight of anticipation fill the air, a palpable energy driving them forward. A quiet moment shared between her and Aiden reflected their mutual understanding. There was no turning back now. "Be safe out there," he said softly, a hint of worry in his eyes as he grasped her shoulder for reassurance. Elowen smiled, appreciating his concern, and replied, "You too. We'll regroup and figure this out together." As they set off in separate directions, her heart swelled with determination, knowing that each step taken was a step closer to uncovering the truth and reclaiming what had been lost. Chapter 6: The Call to Adventure. Elowen stood at the entrance of the sanctuary, a mixture of excitement and trepidation filling her as she prepared to leave behind the familiar walls that had sheltered her for so long. The morning sun cast a bright glow on the path ahead, illuminating the journey she was about to undertake with Aiden. Grabbing her satchel, she took one last look around, the familiar scent of old books and parchment lingering in the air, tugging at her heartstrings. "I'm ready," she whispered to herself, her determination hardening as she resolved to step into the unknown. With a deep breath, she crossed the threshold, feeling a profound shift within her as she embraced the path ahead, a commitment to uncover the truths that lay beyond her sheltered existence. Elowen felt a sense of purpose blaze inside her. This was not just a departure, but a declaration of her intent to seek knowledge and adventure, no matter the risks involved. As Elowen stepped out into the bustling streets, she was immediately enveloped by the vibrant energy of the city. She navigated through clusters of people, the noise of vendors calling out their wares blending with the chatter of townsfolk going about their daily lives. This environment was a stark contrast to the quiet solitude of her sanctuary, and she felt her senses heighten with each passing moment as she took in the sights and sounds. Determined, Elowen stopped at a nearby stall where a vendor was selling maps and supplies. "Excuse me, could you point me toward the library?" she asked, her voice carrying the urgency of her quest. The vendor looked at her, intrigued by the earnestness in her expression, and nodded toward a narrow street leading away from the square. "Head that way, it's a couple of blocks down." With gratitude, she thanked him and pushed forward, aware that each interaction brought her closer to the knowledge she sought, though the excitement was tinged with the uncertainty of what awaited her. Elowen's heart raced as she walked, realizing that this journey would not only unveil the artifact, but also challenge her understanding of the world around her. Elowen arrived at the entrance of the library, its grand facade towering over her as she took a moment to gather her thoughts. The heavy wooden doors stood slightly ajar, inviting her into a sanctuary of knowledge brimming with possibilities. She pushed through the doors, the musty scent of old books instantly enveloping her, a comforting reminder that she was exactly where she needed to be. Inside, the library was sprawling, with high ceilings and endless rows of shelves lined with volumes containing centuries of history. Elowen wandered deeper into the heart of the library, her excitement growing with every step as she dreamed of uncovering the secrets surrounding the artifact and its lost civilization. However, as she came across a reading room filled with other scholars, she felt a flicker of unease. Not everyone welcomed outsiders, and she instinctively wondered if her presence would raise suspicion among those who sought the same knowledge. Elowen's apprehension heightened as she observed a group of scholars engaging in hushed conversations, their eyes darting toward her as she entered the reading room. Feeling the weight of their scrutiny, she squared her shoulders and approached a nearby table, where a few tomes lay open, showcasing the intricate details of ancient knowledge. "Excuse me," she ventured, addressing a scholar who appeared to be poring over a particularly complex text. "Could you help me find references concerning the artifact?" The scholar looked up, his expression skeptical. "And why would you seek this information? Artifacts have been known to invite trouble." Elowen took a breath, weighing her response, aware that she needed to affirm her intentions while navigating the delicate trust within this academic circle. "I seek to understand its significance, not to exploit it. Knowledge can empower us against those who misuse it," she replied, trying to convey her sincerity. The tension hung in the air as the scholar considered her words, clearly intrigued yet guarded, revealing that gaining respect and trust in this environment would require more than just confidence. The scholar studied Elowen for a long moment, his gaze searching for the truth behind her words. Finally, he sighed and gestured toward a dusty volume tucked away on a nearby shelf. "There's a book on the ancient civilizations and their rituals. It might contain the information you seek, but be careful with it. The interpretations are complex." Relief washed over Elowen as she felt the door to understanding crack open, and she nodded gratefully. "Thank you. I'll handle it with care." As she moved toward the shelf, a thrill of excitement enveloped her. This was the direction she had hoped for, each step deeper into the library, revealing more avenues for her quest. However, she could feel the eyes of the other scholars watching her, their whispers and doubts still lurking just beneath the surface, igniting a lingering uncertainty about her acceptance in this world. Determined to prove herself, Elowen carefully retrieved the ancient book and prepared to dive into its contents, ready to absorb the knowledge that could guide them on their path forward. With the text in hand, she felt the weight of her journey shift. The commitment to uncovering the truths of the artifact felt stronger than ever as she engaged fully in the pursuit of knowledge. With the ancient book cradled in her arms, Elowen returned to a secluded reading nook, the weight of her discovery filling her with resolve. She took a deep breath, feeling both exhilarated and anxious as she opened the book, the pages worn and delicate beneath her fingertips. The text unfurled before her, its words painting vivid images of a civilization rich with knowledge and deeply intertwined with the artifact's enigmatic powers. Elowen focused intently, committing the intricate details to memory as she jotted down insights in her journal, her determination growing with each revelation. Suddenly, a thought struck her. The need for caution in sharing this information weighed heavily on her. How would she navigate the political waters following the council's earlier disapproval? As she pondered these challenges, she reminded herself that knowledge also comes with responsibility, and the truths she uncovered must be used wisely to avoid further conflict. Chapter 7: The Hidden Path. Elowen and Aiden stood at the edge of a dense forest, gazing at the overgrown path that led to the hidden ruins described in the book. The morning sun filtered through the leaves, casting dappled shadows on the ground, and a sense of anticipation swelled between them. "This is it," Elowen said, her voice filled with excitement as she stepped forward, heart racing at the thought of uncovering the mysteries waiting within. Aiden glanced around, scanning the tree line with wary eyes. "We should be careful. We don't know what we might find in there. Could be traps or worse." Elowen paused, recognizing the importance of his caution but feeling the pull of adventure tugging at her. "We have to take the chance, Aiden. There's so much we can learn." With a determined nod, she took a deep breath and stepped onto the path, trusting her instincts as they ventured into the unknown together. As they walked deeper into the forest, Elowen's senses heightened, each sound and scent becoming more pronounced as excitement coursed through her veins. The vibrant sounds of nature surrounded them, the crunch of leaves underfoot, the distant chirping of birds, and the gentle rustle of the wind weaving through branches. She carefully studied the path, noting the ancient trees that seemed to stand as guardians to the secrets ahead, their gnarled roots intertwining with the earth in a twisted embrace. "Keep your eyes open for anything unusual," Aiden advised, his demeanor shifting to one of alertness as he scanned the area for signs of danger. Elowen nodded, fully aware that every detail could carry significance, her mind racing with possibilities of what they might discover or what dangers they might face. With her heart set on uncovering the truth, she felt a determination firm within her, ready to confront whatever lay ahead in the ruins that called to her. As they continued along the winding path, the foliage thickened and the light began to dim, shadows creeping in as they drew closer to the entrance of the ruins. Elowen felt a mixture of anticipation and fear wash over her, an electric thrill coursing through her as they approached the crumbling stone structure. "It's even more imposing than I imagined," she murmured, awestruck by the ancient architecture and the weight of history it carried. Aiden paused, squinting at the entrance cloaked in vines and moss. "We should proceed carefully. The last thing we need is to trigger any hidden traps." Elowen nodded, keenly aware of the responsibility resting on their shoulders, her mind replaying every warning about the dangers within such forgotten places. In that moment, she understood the importance of relying on Aiden's cautious nature, even as her excitement urged her forward, ready to unravel the secrets that lay ahead. Elowen stepped closer to the entrance, her heartbeat quickening as she examined the intricate carvings that adorned the stones. "Look at this," she said, pointing to an inscription that seemed to tell a story of the civilization that once thrived here, her curiosity igniting. Aidan joined her, peering closely as he traced the symbols with his finger. These markings might provide insight into their culture. "It could be crucial for understanding the artifact," he remarked, his excitement mingling with caution. As they carefully pushed aside the vines, they sensed a palpable shift in the air, a tension that felt thick with possibility and danger. "We should be cautious. This place feels alive," Aidan whispered, glancing around, his instincts on high alert as they prepared to cross the threshold into history. Elwyn nodded, acknowledging his worry, but feeling the pull of discovery stronger than any fear. She took a deep breath, ready to embrace the unknown, believing in the importance of what they stood to uncover. As they pushed through the doorway into the ruins, the faint light inside revealed a room filled with remnants of a long-lost civilization. Ancient columns rose high, their surfaces adorned with faded murals that depicted scenes of daily life and rituals, evoking a sense of wonder in Elwyn. "Can you believe this?" she whispered, eyeing the artwork as if it could speak the stories hidden within its layers. Aidan moved closer to one of the murals, examining the details with growing curiosity. "This could hold clues about the artifact's true power," he replied, excitement dancing in his voice. Elwyn's mind raced with the potential insights they could gain, her determination burgeoning as she reached for her journal to note her observations. In this moment, she felt a surge of confidence, her apprehensions giving way to the thrill of exploration as the mysteries of the past began to unfold before them. As they immersed themselves in the vibrant history surrounding them, Cale's senses heightened. The air was thick with ancient wisdom, and every detail felt significant. "Let's explore further," Elwyn suggested, her voice filled with conviction as she moved past the murals, drawn deeper into the heart of the ruins. They navigated through a narrow corridor, the echoes of their footsteps mingling with the remnants of the past whispering secrets into the stillness. Suddenly, Aidan stopped, holding out a hand as he sensed something amiss. "Did you hear that?" he asked, his voice low and cautious, breaking the enchantment of their exploration. Elwyn paused, straining to listen as a distant sound interrupted the silence, a faint clicking like the gears of a trap springing to life. "It could be a warning," she replied, her heart racing as she instinctively reached for her notebook, ready to jot down anything that might help them understand this new threat. With a mix of excitement and caution, they prepared to face whatever lay ahead, their journey unpredictable but vital, a dance between knowledge and danger. Chapter 8, Forging Alliances. Elwyn's heart raced as they moved deeper into the ruins, the thrill of discovery mingling with the weight of uncertainty. The intricate carvings they had admired earlier now felt like a warning, echoing with a sense of urgency as their adventure unfolded. Focused on their mission, Elwyn began to retrace their steps, noting the key symbols that could guide them to vital information about the artifact. Suddenly, a heavy thud reverberated through the corridors, making her stop in her tracks. "Aidan, did you hear that?" she whispered, tension tightening in the air. "Yes," he replied, his expression shifting to one of concern. "We need to check it out, but let's be cautious." They exchanged apprehensive glances before moving toward the source of the noise, their footsteps quiet against the cold stone floor. Elwyn's heart drummed in her chest, a mix of fear and curiosity propelling her forward as they crept cautiously around a corner. Peering into a dimly lit room, she spotted a stack of crates, one of which had toppled over, sending ancient relics spilling onto the ground. "What could have caused this?" she murmured, feeling a sense of unease settle in as she surveyed the scene. Aidan knelt to study the fallen items, lifting a dusty relic and examining its intricate details. "Could this be a sign that someone else has been here?" he questioned, an edge of concern in his tone. Elwyn felt the tension rise, the implications of another presence igniting a flicker of doubt as they considered the risks of continuing their exploration. Elwyn stepped cautiously into the room, her eyes darting around as they absorbed every detail. "Whatever caused that could still be lurking nearby," she whispered, scanning the shadows for any signs of movement, her instincts on high alert. Aiden nodded in agreement, but felt compelled to push forward. We can't let our fear control us. We have to uncover the truth about this place. Elwyn appreciated his bravery, but felt a pang of doubt creeping in, pulling her back from her earlier excitement. You're right, but we need to be smart about how we proceed. Determined, she began examining the scattered relics more closely, searching for clues amidst the toppled crates. As she studied the artifacts, she felt a mix of urgency and fear, aware that each moment spent in the ruins could bring them closer to answers or danger. As they navigated the cluttered room, Elwyn's mind raced with the possibilities held within the relics. She turned to Aiden, her excitement sparking a fierce determination. If these artifacts are tied to the artifact we seek, they could hold essential clues. Aiden lifted a delicate, engraved piece of pottery, inspecting it closely. Careful, that looks fragile. We don't want to lose anything that could help us. Elwyn felt a wave of gratitude for Aiden's caution, a reminder of their complementary strengths. While Aiden carefully placed the pottery down, Elwyn pointed out a series of symbols etched into the wall behind the crates, her heart pounding. These could be part of a larger language related to the artifact. As they began piecing together the information, a sense of urgency and excitement enveloped them, reinforcing their resolve to uncover the truth hidden within the ruins. This moment marked a pivotal turn in their journey, where curiosity became their driving force, as they attempted to connect the dots between past and present. As Elwyn deciphered the symbols, she felt a surge of empowerment course through her. Look, these markings seem to describe a ritual process related to the artifact, she exclaimed, excitement lighting up her features as she pointed out the connections. Aiden leaned closer, his hesitation fading as he immersed himself in her findings. If we can understand these rituals, we might be able to leverage the artifact without triggering its dangers. Just then, a low rumble echoed through the ruins, interrupting their concentration and sending a shiver down Elwyn's spine. What was that? Aiden asked, his eyes widening with concern as he glanced around for potential threats. Elwyn's heart raced. The moment of discovery was laced with the fear of unforeseen consequences. It might be just the structure settling, but we should be cautious. Taking a steadying breath, she refocused on the symbols and determined to absorb as much as she could before the uncertainty of their surroundings disrupted their progress any further. Elwyn's focus sharpened as she pushed aside the lingering fear, determined to unlock the secrets that surrounded her. She set her jaw in resolve. We need to keep studying these symbols. They could lead us to understanding the artifact's purpose. Aiden nodded, inspired by her determination, even as the noise outside grew louder, a reminder that they were still vulnerable. Let's move to a more secure spot, he suggested, glancing toward a heavy stone archway that seemed to offer additional protection. Elwyn agreed, feeling a surge of adrenaline pump through her as they relocated, the urgency of their quest reigniting her energy. Once they settled into the new space, she resumed her annotations, carefully applying the lessons from previous trials, aware that the stakes were rising with each revelation they uncovered. In this moment of focus, Kale embraced the essence of exploration, ready to adapt as they pieced together the complex narrative woven into the walls of the ruins. Chapter 9, The Point of No Return. Elwyn and Aiden stood at the entrance of the hidden chamber, the air thick with anticipation as they prepared to step inside. The stone doorway, adorned with elaborate carvings, felt like a threshold to another world, one filled with danger and discovery. Elwyn glanced at Aiden, his expression a mix of excitement and concern, and she felt the weight of their mission settle heavily on her shoulders. We're about to uncover something important, she said, her voice steady, attempting to dispel the rush of nerves swirling within her. Aiden nodded, his focus shifting to the chamber. Let's make sure we're ready for whatever we might find inside. With a deep breath, Elwyn pushed the door open, the creaking sound echoing in the silence as she stepped across the threshold, ready to confront whatever mysteries awaited them. As they stepped into the chamber, the dim light illuminated shelves filled with ancient artifacts and scrolls, each one exuding a sense of forgotten time. Elwyn's heart raced at the sight. This was the moment they had been searching for, a treasure trove of knowledge waiting to be explored. She moved deeper into the room, her fingers grazing the surfaces of mysterious objects, each touch igniting her curiosity and passion for discovery. "Aiden, look at this," she exclaimed, pointing to a peculiar artifact perched on a pedestal, its intricate design hinting at the civilization that once revered it. Aiden stepped closer, his eyes widening as he assessed the artifact's significance, noting its alignment with the descriptions found in the texts they had studied. "I think this could be directly related to the artifact we're searching for," he suggested, excitement threading through his voice as they began to piece together the puzzle laid out before them. Elowen crouched near the pedestal, her eyes alight with wonder as she examined the artifact closely. The energy emanating from it seemed to pulse with a life of its own, drawing her closer with an irresistible allure. "I can't believe we found this," she said, her voice barely above a whisper, as if speaking too loudly would shatter the moment. Aiden joined her at the pedestal, his demeanor shifting to one of caution as he scanned the room for any threats. "We need to be careful. It may not be safe to remove it without understanding its powers," he warned, his protective instincts kicking in. Elowen nodded, aware that their excitement must be tempered with caution, the thrill of discovery accompanied by the weight of responsibility. "Let's record everything we can about it before trying to move it," she suggested, pulling out her journal to begin documenting their findings. Determined to approach this pivotal moment with the wisdom they had gained from their past encounters. Elowen began to sketch the intricate designs of the artifact in her journal, each stroke capturing the details she found so captivating. "I wonder what rituals it was a part of," she mused aloud, her mind racing with possibilities. Aiden, still vigilant, replied, "Whatever it was, it seems significant. We need to understand its history before deciding what to do next." As they worked together, Elowen felt a sense of teamwork strengthen their resolve, the quiet focus of the moment fueling her desire to uncover the truth. But just as she seemed to lose herself in her notes, a sudden sound echoed from the entrance of the chamber, drawing their attention as the door creaked ominously. Kel stepped in briskly, his expression tense. "We need to hurry. I saw some guards approaching and we can't afford to get caught here." Elowen's heart raced at the thought of being discovered, and she exchanged a worried glance with Aiden, instinctively understanding that time was running out. Kale's urgency cut through the moment like a sharp blade, and Elowen felt the adrenaline spike within her. "Then we need to secure what we've found and move out," she said decisively, her earlier hesitation replaced by a fierce resolve. Aiden nodded, working quickly to help her gather their notes and the artifact. Elowen's fingers brushed against the intricate edges of the relic one last time, feeling the weight of its potential as a plan formed in her mind. "Let's stash it here for now," she suggested, pointing to a nearby hollow in the wall. "We can retrieve it later once things settle." With Kale's guiding presence, they quickly adapted their plan, shifting into high gear as they secured their findings against the impending arrival of the guards. The team's synergy clicked into place as they finalized their escape route, Elowen realizing that every moment of preparation and collaboration brought them closer to their ultimate goal. As they secured the artifact in its hiding place, Kale gestured for them to move quickly, his instincts honed from countless encounters guiding him. "Let's go now. We can't afford to wait any longer," he urged, his voice low yet filled with a sense of urgency. Elowen felt her heart racing, knowing that every second counted as they slipped out of the room and into the corridors beyond. Navigating the dimly lit passages, the three of them communicated silently, aware of the potential dangers lurking in every shadow. Aiden led the way, his keen eyes scanning for signs of guards, while Elowen stayed close, her mind already strategizing their next moves. With their shared commitment and trust driving them forward, they exited the stronghold, the fresh air greeting them as they emerged back into the world outside, ready to confront whatever awaited them next. Chapter 10: The Great Unveiling. Elowen and Aiden made their way through the bustling streets, the city alive with sounds and colors, each corner bursting with activity. With the precious artifact hidden away, they were now focused on gathering information about the syndicate's activities, determined to understand the forces they were up against. As they maneuvered through the throng of people, Elowin observed the locals interacting, their conversations a mix of jokes and whispered concerns, underscoring the community's resilience in the face of uncertainty. "Let's check in with some of my contacts at the marketplace," Aidan suggested, his tone confident as he led her towards a nearby stall filled with trinkets and curiosities. Elowin felt a flicker of hope. The vibrant life of the city felt inspiring, each interaction carrying potential for crucial alliances in their quest. "Definitely, any intel we can gather will be invaluable," she agreed, feeling invigorated as they approached the bustling market, ready to dive into conversations that might lead them closer to their goal. As they approached the market, the vibrant stalls burst to life, each vendor shouting their offers, drawing in customers with colorful displays and enticing aromas. Elowin felt a wave of excitement wash over her. This environment was rich with potential, and she could sense the pulse of community thriving in every transaction. They navigated through the crowd, Aidan leading Elowin to a small stall run by a woman known for her connections to local informants. "Fira!" Aidan called, waving to the vendor, who looked up with a smile that quickly turned into a look of concern. "Elowin and Aidan, what trouble are you bringing into my market today?" Fira teased, but her eyes glinted with curiosity as she sensed the urgency behind their visit. Elowin stepped forward, ready to speak about their mission, her determination shining through. "We need to know more about the syndicate's movements and any threats to our community." Fira nodded, her expression shifting to one of seriousness. "I've heard whispers, but you need to be cautious. They're watching." Fira leaned closer, lowering her voice to ensure confidentiality. "I've heard the syndicate has been gathering resources at an old warehouse on the outskirts. They're planning something big." Elowin exchanged a glance with Aidan, a rush of adrenaline coursing through her veins. "What kind of resources?" Aidan asked, his expression shifting to one of concern as he weighed the implications. "They've been acquiring weapons and incoming shipments from the docks," Fira replied, her eyes narrowing with worry. "If they're arming themselves, their next move could be dire for all of us." Elowin felt the gravity of the information sink in, realizing their earlier discussions about caution now felt more pressing than ever, the potential threat looming over them like a dark cloud. "We need to act quickly," she said, her voice filled with urgency as she contemplated their next moves. As she absorbed the news, she felt a mix of determination and fear, understanding that every decision they made from this point would shape the course of their mission and their lives. Elowin felt the urgency building within her as she shared Fira's revelations with the team back at the sanctuary. "We must plan a reconnaissance mission for the warehouse," she stated firmly, her voice steady as she rallied her teammates. Aidan crossed his arms, looking contemplative. "But diving straight into the syndicate's territory without a solid plan could be dangerous. We can't lose anyone else." Elowin met his gaze, sensing the tension between their instincts and the need for action. "I understand the risks, but we can't afford to hesitate. We need to know what they're planning before it's too late." Kale stepped in, feeling the weight of their emotions. "We have to be strategic. Let's scout the warehouse and assess their defenses. If we can gather intelligence without getting caught, we gain the upper hand." Elowin nodded, grateful for his support and leadership. "Right. We'll need to be stealthy and have a solid exit plan ready in case things go south." With their objectives clear, Kale felt a renewed sense of purpose within the group, aware that navigating this delicate balance between caution and action would be crucial as their mission unfolded. As they finalized their plan, the atmosphere crackled with a mix of anticipation and tension, each member of the team feeling the weight of their decisions. Elowin glanced around the room, noticing the apprehension in some faces, coupled with a flicker of excitement in others. "Let's ensure everyone is clear on their roles before we move out," she instructed, her voice steady as she laid out the logistics of their reconnaissance task. Aidan volunteered to take point, eager to prove himself and confront the fear that had lingered since the last encounter. Elowin appreciated his enthusiasm, but also felt the responsibility resting upon her shoulders as the team leader. We need to stay stealthy and communicate, she reminded them, noticing a sense of unity forming as they prepared for action. With a collective nod, they gathered their gear and stepped towards the door, each member committed to the mission ahead, ready to face the risks that awaited them in the syndicate's territory. With the plan set, Kale led the team through the winding streets of the city, the tension palpable as they approached the syndicate's warehouse. Elowen felt a mix of excitement and anxiety, her senses heightened as they neared their destination. "Stick to the shadows and keep your voices down," Kale instructed, ensuring everyone understood the stakes of their mission. They moved quietly, ducking behind crates and blending into the nighttime shadows, the adrenaline coursing through their veins. Elowen felt invigorated by the challenge, her heart pounding as they arrived at the side entrance, the dim light inside offering a glimpse of the guarded interior. "We'll breach through here and stick to the plan," Kale whispered, his confidence igniting the determination in his team as they prepared to make their move. Chapter 11, A Cold Betrayal. Elowen and Kale stealthily crept through the side entrance of the warehouse, the air thick with tension and the promise of danger. As they entered, a dim light illuminated the expansive room, revealing crates piled high and the faint sounds of hushed voices echoing from deeper within. Kale gestured for Elowen to stay close, his instincts kicking in as they scanned the area for any threats. "Let's listen in and gather as much information as we can before making our move," he whispered, focusing on the murmurs. Elowen nodded, her heart pounding, acutely aware of the stakes as they blended into the shadows, keenly aware that this moment could determine the future of their mission. Gathering her courage, she strained to hear the conversation, fully engaged in their dangerous quest for knowledge, aware that any misstep could lead to disaster. Elowen strained to catch the snippets of conversation drifting from behind a stack of crates, her heart racing as she focused on the words spoken by the syndicate members. "The shipment doesn't arrive. We'll lose our grip on the city," one voice said, filled with urgency that sent a chill down her spine. Kale leaned closer, sharing her tension as they exchanged glances, understanding the implications of what they were hearing. "Do you think they're talking about the supplies we uncovered?" Elowen whispered, her curiosity battling the rising tension. "We need to find out," Kale replied, his mind working quickly to formulate a plan to harness this newfound information to their advantage. Feeling the gravity of the situation, Elowen prepared to dive deeper, aware that their next steps would be crucial in determining their success against the syndicate. Their resolve strengthening, they braced themselves to engage, certain that the intel would tip the scales in their favor if they played their cards right. Just as they were about to move forward, a loud crash echoed through the warehouse, causing Elowen and Kale to freeze in place. The sound seemed to come from nearby, likely the result of a scuffle between syndicate members, tension rising as the situation inside grew more unpredictable. "What was that?" Aiden whispered urgently, his eyes wide with concern as he tightened his grip on his weapon. Kale assessed the noise, understanding that their window of opportunity was narrowing. "We need to capitalize on this chaos," he said, his voice steady as he formulated a plan. "We'll slip in while they're distracted." Elowen nodded, adrenaline surging through her as they prepared to act. They knew the risks, but they also recognized that this was the moment to seize the initiative, ready to plunge into the fray. Elowen felt a rush of anticipation as Kale signaled for them to move, their instincts snapping into action. They weaved through the shadows, staying low and quiet as the sounds of chaos unfolded around them, the tension of uncertainty thrumming in her veins. As they approached the source of the crash, Elowen caught sight of a group of syndicate enforcers scrambling to regroup, their eyes filled with confusion and anger. She exchanged a glance with Kale, both of them aware that this was their moment to strike. "We need to incapacitate them quickly before they can call for help," she whispered, her heart pounding with resolve. Kale nodded, his expression steely as he stepped forward, confidently taking the lead in their assault. Elowen followed suit, their movements synchronized, a testament to their growing bond and trust as teammates, ready to face the chaos of their surroundings together. As they closed in on the enforcers, Kale signaled for Elowin and Aiden to flanking positions. "On my count," he whispered, his voice steady and authoritative, instilling confidence in his teammates. 1, 2, 3. At the count of 3, they sprang into action. Elowin maneuvered swiftly, her heart pounding with adrenaline as she aimed to disable an enforcer before he could raise an alarm. She tackled him from the side, using the tactics Rhea had taught her, and felt a surge of satisfaction as he fell to the ground, stunned. Aiden swiftly followed suit, disarming another enforcer with quick precision, their seamless teamwork a testament to their growth. Kale pressed forward, taking charge of the situation as he shouted commands, directing Elowin and Aiden in a manner that showcased his evolving confidence as a leader. "Keep moving. We need to secure the area before more arrive." Their coordinated assault left no room for hesitation, and Elowin felt her confidence swell with each successful action, reinforcing her commitment to their mission. With the enforcers swiftly subdued, Kale assessed their surroundings, instinctively knowing they needed to gather vital information before the syndicate could retaliate. "Search the area for anything useful," he instructed, the authority in his voice reflecting his growth as a leader. Elowin and Aiden moved quickly through the warehouse, combing through crates while their adrenaline began to settle. Elowin found a hidden compartment within one of the crates, filled with maps and records detailing the syndicate's activities. "This may be what we need to understand their movements," she exclaimed, glancing at Aiden, who looked equally impressed by her discovery. "Nice find, Elowin," he said, his enthusiasm renewing her spirit. Kale joined them, eyeing the records with respect. "This could shape our next steps significantly. Let's use this to formulate a plan moving forward." Elowin felt empowered by their recognition, realizing that her persistence had paved the way for a potential advantage, fueling her determination to continue their fight against the syndicate. Chapter 12. The Hidden Allies. Elowin and Kale gathered their findings from the raid, the tension of the past hours beginning to dissolve into a sense of purpose. Kale laid the maps and records on a table within their sanctuary, excitement rippling through both of them as they prepared to delve deeper into their research. "This information could change everything," Kale stated, scanning the documents carefully. Elowin felt her heart race at the thought of how their next steps could impact their mission against the syndicate. "Let's analyze these routes and see how we can leverage this knowledge to our advantage," she suggested, her mind racing with possibilities as she reached for a nearby notepad. The energy in the room shifted as they began strategizing, their collective determination crystallizing into a focused vision of their next move. As they began to analyze the maps, Elowin's excitement turned to anxiety as she realized the complexity of the syndicate's operations. "Look at this," she pointed to a series of marked routes, tracing the paths with her finger. "They have multiple exits and hidden supply lines. It won't be easy to cut them off." Kale furrowed his brow, considering the implications. "We need to think strategically. We can't afford to underestimate their capabilities." Elowin felt the weight of responsibility settle on her shoulders, aware that they needed to be careful in their approach. "We can't go in guns blazing," she cautioned, her voice steady as she glanced at Kale. "If we do, we risk losing everything we've worked for." Kale nodded, taking a deep breath as he reflected on her insights. "Then let's devise a plan that allows us to scout their operations without revealing our intentions." With renewed focus, they dove into brainstorming sessions, their collaborative efforts bringing clarity amidst the chaos. As Elowin and Kale continued to strategize, their conversation was interrupted by a sudden outburst from one of the other team members, who expressed frustration about the risks involved in their plan. "Why are we putting ourselves in danger for a mission that might not even work?" the member asked, crossing their arms defiantly. Elowin felt a ripple of tension spread across the room, the uncertainty echoing her previous fears. Kale glanced at Elowin, sensing her concern. "We need to understand that every mission carries risk. But the information we've gathered puts us in a stronger position," he asserted, his confidence bolstering the team's resolve. "But every time we engage, someone gets hurt," the team member shot back, their voice filled with frustration. Kale took a moment to collect his thoughts, recognizing the need to address the fears head-on. What if we need to weigh our next steps based on what we know? The sooner we act, the quicker we can disrupt the syndicate's plans, he responded, positioning the conversation toward collaboration rather than division. The dialogue shifted as others began weighing in, revealing the group's emotions while they grappled with the defining moment of their mission's trajectory. Elowen took a deep breath, feeling the weight of their discussion pressing upon her as she stepped forward. "Listen, I understand the risks," she began, her voice calm but firm. "But we also have to consider what we stand to gain. This isn't just about knowledge. It's about protecting our community." As she spoke, she noticed nods of agreement from some team members, their expressions shifting from skepticism to interest. "We've already lost too much to the syndicate. If we don't act now, we risk losing our chance to regain control," she continued, her passion igniting a spark of determination in the room. A moment of silence followed her words, the tension easing as her perspective resonated with the group. Kale stepped in, reinforcing her sentiment. "We're in this together. Elowen has a point. The risk of inaction could be greater than facing our fears head-on." With their spirits beginning to rally, her confidence grew stronger, the shared commitment to their cause forming a solid foundation against the doubts that lingered. As the team weighed their options, Keel noticed the shift in dynamics. Some members were visibly rallying behind Elowen, their earlier doubts slowly dissolving under the weight of her conviction. "Okay, let's say we pursue this lead," one member finally conceded, glancing around the group. "What's our backup plan if things go south? We can't afford another failure." Keel met Elowen's gaze, both of them recognizing the importance of building layers of security into their strategy. Elowen nodded. "We need to set up a signal for retreat. If things get too dangerous, we'll regroup and adapt on the fly." Aiden chimed in. "I can scout ahead and provide updates so we can adjust our approach in real time. We'll stay one step ahead." Feeling an adrenaline rush, Kale saw their momentum build, the collaborative spirit weaving new threads of trust and purpose within the team. "Let's finalize our plan. Together we can make this work," he declared, knowing that against the odds, this moment strengthened their resolve to act decisively. With their plan in place, Elowen felt a sense of purpose settling over her, the collective energy of the team igniting a determination to act. "Let's move out and put this strategy into action," Kale declared, his voice steady as he began to distribute roles, ensuring everyone understood the importance of their contributions. Elowen grabbed her satchel, a rush of adrenaline fueling her resolve as she prepared to delve into the unknown. "We need to stick together and remember our signals. Communication will be key," she reminded the group, her previous lessons evident in her approach. Aiden positioned himself at the front, ready to lead the way as they stepped out of the sanctuary, the gravity of their mission swirling around them. The weight of their decisions pressed down on her, but Elowen felt fortified by the knowledge they had collectively built, ready to face whatever challenges awaited as they embraced the adventure ahead. Chapter 13, The First Challenge. As the sun crested the horizon, Kale and Elowen prepared for their first test, an infiltration of the warehouse, now a tangible reality. Elowen felt a rush of nerves and excitement as they approached the imposing structure, the shadows lengthening in the early morning light. "Remember, our goal is to gather information, not to engage unless absolutely necessary," Kale reminded the team, his voice steady and authoritative, setting the tone for their mission. Elowen exchanged a determined glance with Aiden, both of them aware that this moment would test their skills and resolve. They quietly advanced, the noise of the city fading into the background as they neared the entrance, every instinct screaming for caution. As they paused at the doorway, Kale took a deep breath, ready to lead them into the unknown, understanding that every action they took would shape the outcome of their quest. As they slipped through the warehouse door, the tension was palpable, and Elowen felt her senses heighten immediately. The sight before her was a chaotic blend of crates stacked high and shadows looming large, the muted sounds of movement echoing through the dimly lit space. "We need to stick to the plan," Kale whispered urgently, directing them toward an area where they could observe without being seen. Elowen scanned the room, her heart pounding as she noted the presence of a few guards patrolling the interior, their movements erratic and unpredictable. "This isn't what I expected," Aiden murmured, his voice laced with apprehension as they crouched behind a stack of crates. Elowen focused her thoughts, determined to navigate this maze intelligently, knowing that they would need to adapt quickly to the environment and any complications that may arise. Elowen crouched behind the crates, her pulse racing as she listened intently to the guards' conversation. Their words were filled with bravado, revealing their overconfidence in the security of the warehouse, which only heightened her determination. "The shipments are secure. No one will dare challenge us," one guard boasted, causing Elowen to exchange a glance with Aiden, who understood the need for discretion. "We need to gather intel without attracting attention," Kale reminded them, his voice barely above a whisper, sharp with focus. Elowen nodded, aware that one wrong move could compromise everything. As they prepared for their next actions, she felt the weight of responsibility settle in, her instincts driving her to find a way to outsmart their adversaries while navigating the unknown before them. As Kale motioned for them to proceed, Elowen's heart raced with anticipation and fear, the thrill of the unknown driving her forward. They carefully navigated through the shadows, moving from crate to crate, keenly aware of the guards' patrol patterns. "Follow my lead," Kale whispered, his gaze fixed ahead as he began to edge toward an opening that led deeper into the warehouse. Elowen felt the weight of the mission pressing down on her, the stakes rising with each deliberate step they took. Suddenly, a guard rounded the corner, and Elowen's instincts kicked in. She ducked behind a stack of crates, her heart pounding as the guard continued past, unaware of their presence. Aiden let out a breath he hadn't realized he was holding, his expression a mix of relief and tension, reminding Elowen that the risks they faced were greater than ever. Elowen took a moment to steady her breath, the adrenaline from the close call fueling her determination as they continued to move deeper into the warehouse. Kale glanced back at her, his eyes reflecting both concern and confidence. "We have to be more alert. Every second counts," he said quietly, focused on maintaining their cover as they edged closer to their destination. As they maneuvered around another stack of crates, Aiden leaned in, his expression serious. "What if we're being watched? They could have eyes everywhere." Elowen felt a flicker of doubt, but quickly pushed it aside. "We'll have to be smart about this. If we maintain a low profile, we can gather the intel we need without raising alarms." With her resolve strengthened, she pressed onward, feeling the weight of their mission more acutely than ever. Kale's leadership encouraged her, transforming her earlier anxiety into a surge of confidence. She knew that navigating these obstacles would only prepare them for the challenges that lay ahead. As they approached a door that led to the heart of the warehouse, Kale signaled for silence, his expression serious as he prepared them for what lay ahead. Elowen could feel her heart pounding, the anticipation building as they inched closer, acutely aware that this moment could change everything. "This is it," Kale whispered, glancing back at Aiden and Elowen. "We breach through here, and we gather intel on their supply routes." Elowen nodded, her earlier doubts shifting into determination as she felt a sense of unity with her teammates. They punctuated their arrival at the door, and Kale took a deep breath, ready to ensure that their earlier strategy would guide them through the confrontation. With a decisive push, the door creaked open, revealing a room bustling with syndicate members, the air thick with tension and the stakes ever higher. Chapter 14, A Lesson in Strategy. Elowen and Kale stood in the training hall, surrounded by the faint scent of sweat and the sound of fists striking pads, the atmosphere charged with energy. They had arranged to meet Rhea, their mentor, knowing her expertise would be crucial for the challenges ahead. Kale felt a mix of anticipation and anxiety. He knew their time with her could shape their strategies and bolster their confidence. As Rhea approached, her presence was commanding, exuding a blend of discipline and encouragement. "You're not here just to fight. You're here to learn," she said, her voice firm as she surveyed them. Elowen nodded, eager to absorb every piece of wisdom she could gather to prepare for their mission. "Show me you are ready," Rhea challenged, motioning them toward a training dummy. igniting a sense of purpose as they prepared to put their skills to the test. Rhea watched as Elowen and Kale stepped forward, their determination evident as they prepared to take their first swings at the training dummy. "Remember, it's not just about brute strength," she instructed, her tone sharp, emphasizing the combination of technique and strategy. Elowen nodded, recalling their earlier discussions about using knowledge and understanding to inform their actions. With focus, she began to practice, throwing precise strikes while evaluating her movements, consciously trying to incorporate Rhea's lessons on strategy. Kale followed suit, his stance steady as he tested the dummy's resilience, but he felt the pressure mounting to perform well. Rhea observed closely, providing feedback and encouragement, pushing them to refine their techniques and adapt their approaches as they trained. As the session progressed, both Elowen and Kale began to exhibit growth, their skills sharpening under Rhea's guidance, properly channeling their nervous energy into constructive practice. As the training session continued, Rhea challenged Elowen to push beyond her comfort zone, urging her to dig deeper into her capabilities. "Don't think, feel your movements," she instructed sharply, watching Elowen closely as she hesitated, caught in the balance between thought and action. Determined, Elowen focused on her breath and the rhythm of her strikes, allowing her instincts to take over. With each punch and kick, she felt her confidence grow, but a knot of self-doubt lingered at the back of her mind. "Trust in your abilities, Elowen," Aiden called out, his voice breaking through her moment of uncertainty, reminding her of the progress she'd made. This encouragement pushed her to release the lingering fear, allowing her newfound strength to bloom as she engaged more fervently in her training, embracing the lessons from her mentors and companions alike. As the session progressed, Elowen's muscles began to tire, but she pushed through, her determination unwavering. Rhea observed, noting the subtle transformations in Elowen's technique, the way her movements became more fluid and confident with each passing moment. "Good. You're starting to blend thought with action," Rhea acknowledged, her tone approving, fostering a sense of pride in Elowen. Feeling the weight of her mentor's encouragement, Elowen realized she was beginning to understand the balance between power and control. Kale joined in, offering tips based on his own experience, prompting Elowen to apply his insights into her practice. "Remember, every encounter teaches us something. Use this knowledge to refine your strategy," he said, showing his growth by actively collaborating to enhance their team. With each strike against the training dummy, Elowen felt a growing confidence emerge, her earlier doubts starting to fade into the background. As she worked through the drills, she focused intently on incorporating Aiden's suggestions, adjusting her movements with newfound awareness. "Keep your core engaged and aim for precision, not just power," Aiden encouraged, his tone supportive as he watched her from the sidelines. Elowen appreciated his input, realizing how valuable his perspective was as they worked together to refine their skills. As Rhea called for a break, Elowen stepped back, wiping the sweat from her brow, a sense of accomplishment swelling within her. "I can feel myself improving," she admitted, glancing at Aiden and Kale, eager to share the progress she felt deep within as her confidence continued to grow. As they finished their training session, Elowen felt a renewed sense of purpose, the energy of her hard work still coursing through her. Rhea stepped forward, her expression filled with pride. "You've made significant progress today. Continue to reflect on these lessons, and they'll serve you well in the field." Elowen beamed at the acknowledgement, feeling the weight of her mentor's words sink in. Kale joined them, a smile on his face. "I can see the difference in your confidence. You're ready to face whatever the syndicate throws at us." The praise from her companions fueled her resolve, strengthening her belief in her abilities. Elowen took a moment to absorb the feedback, understanding that this growth wasn't just about physical strength, but also the mental resilience and adaptability they had cultivated as a team. With a deep breath, she felt prepared to embrace their upcoming challenges. The weight of responsibility transformed into a driving force, pushing her forward into the unknown. Chapter 15, The Moment of Truth. The morning sun shone through the windows of their makeshift command center as Kale reviewed their plans one last time, feeling a mixture of excitement and apprehension swell inside him. With a map spread across the table, he traced the routes they needed to take to gather intel from the syndicate's stronghold, determined to capitalize on their progress. Elowen entered, her expression focused and ready. "Are we set to move out?" she asked, her voice steady, reflecting her newfound confidence. Kale looked up, nodding. "As soon as Aiden and the others arrive, we'll finalize our strategy. This is our chance to secure vital intel." He felt the weight of responsibility settle over him as he thought about the risks they were about to take, each member's safety hanging in the balance. Elowen joined him at the table, arranging her notes and highlighting key points, her passion for the mission igniting a fire within the group. "Let's make sure everyone is on the same page before we head out. We can't afford any miscommunication," she added, her commitment to clarity evident in her words. Kale appreciated her initiative, recognizing how much they had all grown, and he felt a sense of pride in the team they had become together. As the rest of the team trickled in, Kale felt the tension heightening around them. "Everyone, gather around," he said, lifting his voice to draw attention. "We have a crucial mission ahead, and we need every one of you clear about your roles." Elowen moved to the front, holding the notes she had prepared, ready to share her insights. "Based on our intel, we should focus on disrupting their supply lines while still gathering information about their operations," she proposed, her eyes scanning the faces of her teammates for support. Aiden chimed in, highlighting potential risks. "What if we trigger an alarm? We need to account for escape routes. We're not familiar with the layout." Kale nodded, considering the validity of Aiden's concerns while remaining focused on their mission. "That's a great point. We'll establish fallback points and signals to ensure everyone knows what to do if we run into trouble." The team began to buzz with energy, the undercurrents of worry mingling with excitement as they prepared to enact their plan with determination. Kale sensed the solidarity building among them, a shared commitment to the mission while navigating the complexity of their individual concerns. As the discussion continued, the room filled with excitement and apprehension, but a lingering doubt surfaced when one team member raised an eyebrow, questioning the viability of their plan. "Are we truly ready to take this risk?" they asked, glancing around the table. "What if they have additional defenses we didn't account for?" Elowen felt the tension prickling in the air, her heart racing as she recognized the concern reflected in her teammates' eyes. "We've done our homework, and we need to trust our preparation," she replied, her tone firm yet understanding, seeking to reassure them. "But preparation can only take us so far," Aiden argued, frustration creeping into his voice. "We may be walking into a trap." Kale interjected, his voice steady. "If we let fear dictate our actions, we'll never achieve our goals. Remember, we have each other's backs, and we'll adapt if something goes wrong." With that reminder, Elowen saw some of the tension ease, a collective understanding forming as the team rallied behind the importance of their mission and the trust they had built in one another. Elowen took a deep breath, centering herself as the intensity of the conversation hung in the air. "We have to remember why we're doing this," she said, her voice steady, attempting to reignite their desperation for action. "This isn't just about the mission. It's about protecting our community." Her words resonated with several team members, sparking nods of agreement as they recalled the stakes involved. Aiden's expression softened, and he considered her perspective. "You're right. We have to keep our focus on the bigger picture," he said, visibly reframing his apprehensions. Kale watched the dynamic change as they coalesced around Elowen's determination, the spirit of collaboration overcoming doubts. "Let's take this step together," Kale added, his voice firm with conviction, rallying them to embrace their shared ambitions. Strengthened by their unified purpose, Elowen felt renewed confidence surge through her. This commitment, she realized, was what would shape their journey and bind them as they faced the challenges ahead. As the team began gathering supplies, Kale felt a sense of purpose solidifying around them. He moved methodically, making sure each member was aware of their tasks and how vital every item was to their success. "Remember, we're setting the foundation for what's to come. Every choice counts," he reminded them, the weight of responsibility evident in his tone. Elowen busied herself preparing their gear, her earlier confidence bolstered by the team's growing trust in her leadership. A few team members, still grappling with unease, began to step forward, offering ideas for further preparations, demonstrating the way their collaboration was beginning to take shape into something productive. "Let's make sure we have a backup plan for each stage of this mission," one member suggested. And Kale was impressed by their proactive thinking, understanding that each contribution would play a critical role in their entire strategy. With the final preparations underway, Kale felt the tension in the room shift to a palpable sense of determination. As they organized their supplies, he looked around at his team, noting the commitment shining in their eyes, a reminder of how far they had all come together. "Let's take a moment to remember why we are doing this," he said, raising his voice slightly to draw their attention, feeling a surge of leadership as he inspired them. Elowen met his gaze, her expression steady as she nodded in agreement, grateful for the team's support and understanding of their shared goals. "Right. We're not just fighting for ourselves, but for everyone who can't," she added, her conviction resonating in the room, reinforcing their unity. With their bond solidified and collective resolve strong, Kale felt ready to embrace whatever challenges lay ahead, confident that their newly cultivated strengths would guide them through the darkness. Chapter 16, The Unexpected Betrayal. As the team executed their plan, a sudden alarm blared throughout the warehouse, slicing through the air and throwing everything into chaos. Kale's heart sank as he realized the immediate consequences of their infiltration, the sound echoing ominously against the stone walls. "Fall back," he shouted, adrenaline surging as panic began to ripple through his team, their earlier confidence shattered by the unexpected turn of events. Elowen's eyes widened in fear, and she quickly scanned the room for an escape route, knowing that every second was critical. "We need to regroup. There's no time to lose," Aiden commanded, rallying the team as they adjusted their focus to navigate their way out. Kale felt the weight of leadership pressing heavily on him, his mind racing as he calculated the best way to lead them safely through the arising dangers while holding on to their objectives. In the chaos of alarms blaring and footsteps pounding, Kale quickly assessed the situation, adrenaline sharpening his focus. "Stay together," he shouted, leading the way as they maneuvered through the maze of crates and machinery, aware that the sound of guards approaching would soon close in around them. Elowen followed closely, her heart racing as they navigated the dimly lit corridors, filled with a sense of urgency and determination to escape. "Do we have a backup plan?" she called out, panic creeping into her voice as they approached a blocked exit. "Yes, we can use the side door if we can get past these crates," Aiden replied, eyes darting as he gestured toward an alternative route. Kale felt the weight of their trust settle over him, realizing that adaptability was crucial. "Let's move," he commanded, guiding them as they quickly recalibrated their escape strategy. They worked together, shifting boxes and creating a path, each obstacle they faced, reinforcing their commitment to one another and their shared mission. As they fought to clear the path, Elowen's pulse quickened, the tension coiling tightly in her chest. Kale directed the effort, but moments of discouragement began to surface as they struggled against heavy crates, the noise of approaching guards heightening their urgency. "Come on, we can't let this slow us down," he called out, his determination ringing through the air as he heaved against one of the boxes. Aiden grunted alongside him, exerting all his strength. "Almost there," he urged, but frustration crept into his voice, revealing the strain of the moment. Elowen realized that they needed to adapt quickly. They could no longer rely on brute force alone. "We can do this together. Let's pull from both sides," she suggested, her leadership shining through the panic as she took a moment to assess their situation. With a renewed focus, they coordinated their movements, working in unison to shift the crates out of the way, demonstrating their growth as individuals and as a cohesive team. Elowen felt a surge of determination wash over her as they worked, realizing that every obstacle they faced could be navigated with creativity and teamwork. "Let's create a diversion. I can make some noise to draw their attention away while you guys finish clearing the path," she proposed, turning the challenge into an opportunity for their escape. Kale met her gaze, recognizing the cleverness of her idea. That could work, but we need to be quick. We don't have much time. Nodding, Aiden reassured her. We trust you, Elowen. Just be safe. With a nod of understanding, Elowen moved a few steps back, preparing to create the distraction while keeping an ear on the guard's approach. She took a deep breath, gearing herself up for the act, knowing that she had to embody the resolve she had learned as she sent a series of loud knocks against a nearby stack of crates, maximizing the noise to catch the guard's attention. Watching the distraction unfold, Kale and Aiden worked faster, knowing this was their moment to escape the looming danger. The loud crashes reverberated through the warehouse, and Kale felt his heart race as the guards turned in their direction, drawn by the noise. Now, he shouted, urgency propelling them into action as they finally cleared the last of the crates. Elowen watched as several guards sprinted toward the sound, her heart pounding with adrenaline as she quickly reevaluated their escape route. Let's go, Kale urged, leading the way through the maze of crates, each step echoing their collective heartbeat. They moved swiftly, staying low as the chaos unfolded behind them, their instincts honed by training and experience guiding their every decision. Elowen felt the weight of responsibility settle in her chest, recognizing that this success wasn't just a matter of survival. It was a pivotal moment that shaped their evolving dynamics as a team, reinforcing her belief in their combined strength. As they burst through the side exit, Kale felt a rush of relief wash over him as the cool evening air filled his lungs, invigorating his spirit. Keep moving, he called to Elowen and Aiden, urging them onward as they dodged into the shadows outside the warehouse. Elowen looked back, her mind racing with the weight of their narrow escape, the chaos within the building still echoing in her ears. Once they reached a safe distance, Kale gathered the team to catch their breath, eyes scanning their surroundings for any signs of pursuit. We did it, he said, exhaling deeply, but he remained aware that this was just one battle in a much larger war. Elowen felt the flicker of confidence growing within her as they acknowledged their success. Their collaboration had allowed them to face danger and emerge stronger, solidifying her resolve to lead them into the next challenge. Chapter 17, Tensions Rising. The atmosphere in the makeshift command center felt heavy with unspoken tension as Kale gathered the team to discuss their next steps. Elowen could sense the uncertainty simmering among her comrades, their earlier triumph now overshadowed by the weight of the mission ahead. All right, we need to strategize how to handle the next phase, Kale began, his voice steady as he outlined the potential approaches they could take. However, a member of the team raised a hand, concern etched on their face. But what if we provoke them further? We've already had one close call. Aiden's brows furrowed, clearly caught in conflicting thoughts, while the rest of the group exchanged glances, hesitant to disagree with Kale, but wrestling with their fears. Elowen felt the tension rising, the divide between excitement and caution palpable as she considered the implications of their choices. Let's not forget why we're here, Kale interjected, his tone firm, trying to unify their resolve amidst the swirling doubts in the room. Kale's resolve deepened as he faced the team, his heart pounding in his chest. We've come too far to let fear dictate our actions, he asserted, the intensity of his gaze urging them to listen. We must take decisive steps if we're going to dismantle the syndicate's power. A few team members exchanged uncertain glances, weighing the risks against the rewards. What if we're exposed? We can't afford to lose anyone else, one member spoke up, their voice unsteady but filled with concern, invoking memories of the dangers they had already faced. Elowen felt the tension swell further as she glanced around the room, sensing how the escalating fear threatened to fracture their unity. Every mission involves risk, but that's why we have each other, Kale continued, recognizing the need to strengthen their bonds rather than let fear pull them apart. Together, we can create a plan that minimizes those risks. We'll find a way to strike strategically, he insisted, determination anchoring his words. Another member of the team, caught up in the moment, finally spoke with passion. What if we can leverage our last encounter, use that chaos to our advantage? Kale's attention shifted to the suggestion, and he felt a flicker of hope igniting among the uncertainty. That's a solid idea, he replied, appreciating the proactive thinking. If we can create a diversion, we might be able to gain the upper hand. We need to catch them off guard. The team began to nod in agreement, the tension in the room easing as the prospect of an active approach reshaped their collective mindset. Elowin, feeling emboldened, chimed in. We can split into two groups. One can draw the attention, while the other scouts for more intel. I like it, Kale added, a sense of energy rekindling as they brainstormed ways to adapt their plan. With renewed determination, they began discussing the specifics of the operation, united in their commitment to proceed despite the shadows of doubt that had threatened to overshadow their mission. Kale felt a sense of camaraderie grow as they discussed the logistics of the new plan, a shared excitement washing over the team as they moved past their earlier doubts. Let's establish clear signals so we can synchronize our actions, he said, outlining hand gestures to communicate during the operation. Elowin stepped up, visualizing the process. We can use colored cloth to mark our positions. Something easy to see amid the chaos, she suggested, her mind racing with possibilities. Aiden contributed, detailing how they could exploit the syndicate's weak points based on their last encounter. If we strike quickly and quietly, we can catch them off guard. We need to make sure they don't see us coming. As they finalized their discussions, Kale appreciated how each member of the team was stepping up, their strengths increasingly evident. Feeling the weight of their commitment, Kale nodded at Elowin, recognizing her growth. This is becoming our plan, and I trust all of you to execute it effectively. With the plan now in place, the sense of unity washed over the group, ready to face whatever dangers awaited them, standing together as a cohesive force. As the team prepared to disperse for their respective roles, a charged atmosphere surrounded them, each member absorbing the gravity of their mission. Kale took a moment to address everyone one last time, his voice steady and confident. We know our target and our objectives. Trust each other, stay sharp, and adapt as needed. We're doing this together. Elowin could see the determination in her teammates' eyes, and it drove her own resolve deeper. Let's ensure we leave no room for error, she added, catching Kale's gaze as he nodded in agreement, reinforcing their unity as a team. As they broke apart to take their positions, Kale felt a mix of nervous excitement and responsibility settle over him, recognizing how far they had come together. Elowin turned to Aiden, who looked back at her with a reassuring smile, both of them silently acknowledging the journey that had brought them to this pivotal moment. Kale felt their bond strengthen in that instant, knowing that this mission was more than just a task. It was a testament to their growth, commitment, and the deep trust they had developed along the way. With their roles established and minds focused, the team exchanged final nods before slipping into their designated positions. Kale took a moment to catch his breath, feeling the weight of expectations settling around him as he readied himself for their approach. Elowin moved stealthily alongside Aiden, their movements synchronized as they crept toward the syndicate stronghold, adrenaline coursing through their veins. With each step, Elowin felt her heart pounding, the thrill of the impending confrontation sharpening her senses and pushing her determination to the forefront. We'll stick to the shadows and use the signals we discussed, Aiden whispered, his voice low and resolute as he scanned their surroundings for any threats. Elowin nodded, confidence bolstering her resolve. Together, they were ready to face whatever awaited them, aware that their shared experiences and trust would be their greatest assets in the moments to come. Chapter 18, The Pledge. As they approached the syndicate's hideout, Kale felt the weight of their mission pressing heavily on his shoulders. The murmurs of their previous accomplishments lingered in the air, but the gravity of this moment cast a shadow over their recent victories. Remember what we're fighting for, he said, addressing his team, his voice steady yet filled with urgency. The others nodded, a mixture of determination and apprehension reflected in their eyes as they prepared to take the final steps toward confronting the enemy. Elowin's heart raced, caught between the thrill of action and the anxiety of uncertainty. She felt a renewed sense of purpose as she reached for her weapon, ready to stand alongside her friends. Let's show them that we're not to be underestimated, Kale urged, signaling the team to advance. each step filled with resolve as they prepared to face the challenges ahead. As they neared the entrance, Cale scanned the area, his instincts alert for any signs of danger. The quiet outside contrasted sharply with the tumult of emotions swirling within him, each heartbeat echoing the stakes of their mission. Eowyn walked beside him, her determination evident, yet he could sense a flicker of doubt in her eyes. "Stay focused," he reminded her softly, wanting to reassure her that they were in this together, no matter the outcome. She met his gaze and nodded, drawing strength from their shared commitment to the cause. With resolve, Cale pushed forward, feeling the weight of leadership settle over him as they prepared to confront the syndicate and reclaim the power that had been threatened. As they stepped into the syndicate stronghold, the atmosphere shifted dramatically, the air thick with tension and the weight of hidden dangers. Cale motioned for the group to take cover behind a stack of crates, his heart pounding as he quickly surveyed the layout of the room ahead. "Remember the signals we discussed," he whispered, ensuring everyone was alert and ready to act. Eowyn felt a rush of adrenaline at the sight of enforcers moving about, her instincts kicking in as she focused on maintaining her composure amid the chaos. She glanced at Aiden, who was positioning himself for a better vantage point, eager to take action, but cautious of the unfolding situation. "Stay low and wait for my signal to move," Cale instructed, adrenaline coursing through him as he prepared to take on the syndicate and reclaim control of their destiny. Cale's instincts kicked in as he watched a group of syndicate enforcers conferring nearby, their demeanor alert and suspicious. He felt the intensity in the air, recognizing that their next move could mean the difference between success and chaos. "Now," he whispered to Eowyn and Aiden, signaling for them to advance with stealth. Tension coiled within Eowyn as they quickly moved into position, her heart racing at the thrill of the moment, aware that strategy and speed were paramount. Aiden took a deep breath, consolidating his resolve as he positioned himself to flank the enforcers, his breathing steadying as he prepared for action. Moments later, as Cale gestured for them to strike, he felt a surge of confidence, his growth as a leader shining through as he pushed aside the chaos, ready to confront their enemies head-on. As the confrontation erupted, Cale moved with agility, guiding his team through the chaos as they unleashed their strategic plan. Eowyn felt her heart racing as she engaged with the first enforcer, recalling the techniques they practiced, her instincts kicking in as she delivered a swift, calculated blow. The energy in the room shifted, the conflict intensifying as the syndicate recognized they were under attack, scrambling to rally their defenses. Aiden worked alongside her, coordinating their movements seamlessly, their prior trust and collaboration evident in the way they fought as one entity. Cale, directing the flow of their assault, shouted commands and adjustments as he navigated the fray, his confidence bolstering the resolve of the entire team. With each move, he felt the weight of leadership manifesting within him, their earlier preparations becoming the foundation upon which they stood resilient against the syndicate's unexpected retaliation. As the battle escalated, Cale caught glimpses of his teammates executing their roles with precision, their training evident in every movement. Maya's quick reflexes saw her take down an enforcer with surprising efficiency, her earlier hesitation replaced by confidence and resolve. Eowyn, amidst the fray, remained attuned to the shifting dynamics around her, adapting to the chaos while looking for openings to exploit. "Keep pushing forward," Cale shouted, his leadership evident in how he motivated the team, urging them to seize the moment and press their advantage. Each successful maneuver reinforced their unity, the anticipation of reclaiming their agency over the syndicate fueling their fire. In that whirlwind of action, Cale realized that their collaboration had transcended individual fears, creating a powerful force ready to face whatever challenges lay ahead. Chapter 19. The High-Stakes Encounter. Cale and his team gathered at the designated meeting point, the tension in the air palpable as they prepared for the high-stakes encounter. The flickering lanterns cast shadows against the walls of the alley where they planned to confront the syndicate, anxiety and determination mingling in their hearts. "Remember the plan. Stay alert and stick together," Cale instructed, his voice steady, seeking to instill confidence in his teammates before they made their move. Eowyn could feel her heart racing, the weight of what they were about to undertake, igniting both fear and exhilaration within her. Aiden checked his gear one last time, a mixture of excitement and apprehension in his eyes as he prepared for what lay ahead. Together they advanced, the camaraderie between them reinforced by their shared goal as they approached the warehouse, ready to face whatever danger awaited within. As they neared the entrance of the warehouse, Cale's pulse quickened, the adrenaline surging through him. He gestured for everyone to halt, raising a hand to signal that they needed to assess the situation before proceeding. Ahead, shadows flickered in the doorway, and the sounds of murmured conversations echoed within, heightening the tension that wrapped around them. "What if they're ready for us?" Aiden whispered, doubt creeping into his expression as he scanned for potential threats. Cale took a steadying breath, recognizing that the moment demanded a clear strategy. "Then we adapt. Remember, our strength lies in our teamwork. Let's observe before we act." Feeling the weight of responsibility, Cale's mind worked quickly, analyzing every detail, every sound, every shadow, as they prepared to execute their plan under the cloak of darkness. Cale beckoned to Eowyn and Aiden, motioning for them to follow, as they crept closer to a shadowy corner, maximizing their cover from the entrance. Peering around the edge, he caught sight of several syndicate members gathered, their expressions animated as they plotted their next move. "Looks like they're discussing their delivery schedules," he murmured, excitement bubbling beneath his composed exterior as he realized the potential to gather intel right before their eyes. Eowyn whispered, "If we time this right, we could overhear valuable information." Cale nodded, feeling the pressure to act swiftly, but also weighing the need for careful execution. "Let's wait for an opportune moment. We need to hear as much as we can before we move," he decided, reinforcing the importance of patience and observation in navigating the unfolding challenge. In that moment, their resolve solidified. They were ready to leverage their skills and adapt to the risks they faced, prepared for whatever revelations lay ahead. Eowyn's heart raced as she listened intently, the murmurs of the syndicate members washing over her like a tide of revelation. "They plan to increase their shipments next month," one of the men said, a sense of urgency in his voice. "If we don't act quickly, we'll lose our grip on the entire operation." Cale exchanged a glance with Aiden, their expressions mirroring the gravity of the information being shared. "This is what we needed to hear," Cale whispered, the thrill of discovery igniting a fierce determination within him. Eowyn frowned, processing the implications of the conversation. "We have to use this to our advantage before they can fortify their defenses," she replied, feeling the weight of strategy resting on their shoulders. Cale nodded, feeling the energy of the moment shift as they prepared to act based on the intel they'd gathered, demonstrating the strategic thinking that would propel them forward in their mission. Feeling the urgency of the situation swell, Cale took a quick breath before making a decisive choice. "We need to take this information straight to the council," he declared, his voice laced with determination as he stepped back from their hiding spot. Aiden looked at him, a flicker of concern in his eyes. "But what if we become targets for the syndicate?" "I'd rather be a target than sit back and do nothing," Cale responded, his conviction unwavering. Eowyn nodded in agreement, the fire of camaraderie igniting between them as they recognized the importance of acting on their newfound intelligence. With the plan set, they slipped out of the warehouse's shadows, moving quickly and quietly, eager to share their findings while remaining vigilant for any signs of danger. Each step felt like a leap toward reclaiming their agency, a powerful reminder of the growth they had experienced together as a team. As Cale and his team navigated the winding streets, a sense of urgency propelled them forward, thoughts racing about the importance of the intel they had gathered. Eowyn felt the adrenaline coursing through her, the thrill of discovery mingling with the weight of responsibility as they approached the council chambers. "What do you think they'll say?" she asked Aiden, her curiosity cutting through the tension as they neared their destination. Aiden shrugged, his expression thoughtful. "I just hope they take us seriously this time. We have to make them understand the urgency." Cale took the lead, pushing through the heavy doors that marked the entrance to the council chamber, feeling the weight of their mission settle over him. When they stepped inside, the council members looked up, startled by their sudden arrival, and Cale quickly gathered his thoughts, determined to convey the significance of their findings. "Council, we have critical information regarding the syndicate's operations that could change everything," he stated, ready to make them see the reality of the threat at hand. Chapter 20, Reflecting on the Journey. Cale gathered the team in the sanctuary after their tense meeting with the council, feeling the weight of accountability as he prepared to review their progress. Maps and notes were spread out across the large wooden table, the remnants of their journey laid bare for all to see. He looked at each member of his team, sensing the combination of exhaustion and anticipation in the air. "Let's go over what we've achieved since our last mission and what still needs addressing," he began, his tone steady as he directed their focus. Elowen leaned forward, studying the notes she had taken during their discussions, eager to share her thoughts. "I've compiled our intel and identified several paths we can still explore," she added, emphasizing the importance of accountability in their efforts. Cale turned his attention to the maps, tracing the lines with his finger as he assessed their current standing against the syndicate. "Based on our last encounter, we need to adjust our strategy," he declared, the urgency in his voice clear as he pointed to a crucial route. Elowen nodded, already thinking ahead, her analytical mind racing with the potential adjustments. "We could exploit this weakness in their defenses to gather more intel before our next strike," she suggested, her enthusiasm sparking a new sense of purpose in the group. Aiden added, "We should also consider the consequences of our previous plans. We can't afford to repeat past mistakes." Cale agreed, appreciating the insight from his teammates. "Exactly. Let's build on what we've learned and ensure our next moves are calculated." As they discussed further adjustments, pride swelled within Cale. He saw how their growth as individuals and a team was shaping their path forward. Elowen felt invigorated by the energy in the room, the spirit of collaboration, reinforcing their resilience as they committed to facing the challenges ahead. As they moved through the details of their plan, a sense of urgency hung in the air, each member contributing their thoughts and insights. Cale observed the different perspectives being shared, noting how their individual strengths began to complement one another in unexpected ways. "I'll coordinate with Fira to secure additional supplies from the marketplace," Aiden announced, his confidence palpable as he outlined his next steps. Cale welcomed the initiative, seeing how everyone was stepping up to take responsibility for their roles, weaving a stronger fabric of teamwork. Elowen interjected with a thoughtful expression, "And I can reach out to some of our contacts to gather intelligence on potential risks." The group exchanged nods of approval, their collaboration deepening as they shared ideas on how to fortify their strategy. With newly identified strengths reflected in their dynamics, Cale felt a surge of optimism, recognizing how this collective effort solidified their determination to succeed against the syndicate. As the discussions drew to a close, Cale sensed a renewed commitment among the team, a shared determination to face the challenges that lay ahead. "Let's finalize our plan," he said, his tone carrying the weight of leadership that everyone had come to rely on. Elowen felt the rush of responsibility as they prepared to take action. This was her opportunity to prove herself. "Once we secure our resources and intelligence, we can make calculated moves against the syndicate," she proposed, her enthusiasm evident in her voice. Cale nodded appreciatively, encouraged by her proactive stance. "Agreed. It's crucial that we execute this with precision." The energy in the room shifted, a palpable sense of unity strengthening their resolve as they gathered their notes and prepared for the next phase of their mission. Elowen felt a surge of confidence reflecting the growth they had all shared, understanding that their individual contributions were vital to achieving their collective goals. The team began gathering their gear, a sense of purpose igniting their movements as they prepared for the mission ahead. Cale moved among them, offering encouragement as they loaded supplies and checked equipment, ensuring everything was ready. Elowen actively contributed, organizing their resources with meticulous care, determined to make this mission a success. As she worked, Aiden approached with a concerned expression. "Are you sure you're prepared for what we might uncover?" he asked, his concern laced with genuine care for her well-being. Elowen paused, meeting his gaze with confidence. "I have to be. We can't shy away from the truth, no matter how difficult it is." The gravity of her statement hung in the air, solidifying the shared understanding that facing their fears was part of their journey, drawing the team closer together as they embarked on this critical mission. With their gear secured and a clear plan in place, Cale gathered the team for one final pep talk before they set out. "I want each of you to remember that we're not just fighting for ourselves," he began, his voice steady, capturing the attention of everyone present. Elowen felt a surge of determination as she listened, aware that their mission encompassed far more than individual goals. "We're fighting for our community, for those who depend on us," Cale continued, emphasizing the weight of their purpose. The team exchanged determined glances, nodding in agreement as the collective energy in the room ignited, their resolve strengthening. Feeling the momentum build, Cale concluded, "Let's show the syndicate that we're united and ready to take back what's rightfully ours." As they prepared to leave, Elowen held on to the sense of unity that had blossomed among them, ready to face whatever challenges lay ahead, strengthened by their shared commitment. Chapter 21, Temptation to Retreat. As Cale and his team prepared to embark on their mission, a sudden chill settled over the atmosphere, drawing attention to the tension lurking just beneath the surface. Elowen glanced at the others, noticing how their earlier excitement shifted to a palpable sense of anxiety, each member contemplating the implications of the risks ahead. "Are we sure this is the right move? With everything at stake, it feels reckless," one team member voiced, their apprehension ringing clear. Cale felt the weight of their concerns, but knew that retreating now could jeopardize everything they had fought for. "We have to push forward," he replied, his voice steady, despite the growing unease among the group. Elowen's heart raced as she weighed the implications of the words spoken. She understood the need for action, but felt a tug of trepidation gripping her as well. "We can't forget what we're fighting for," Cale added, seeking to rally their spirits, but he too felt the pull of doubt lurking in the back of his mind as they faced the path ahead. Cale moved to the forefront, determination etched into his features as he faced the group. "I understand the risks, but we have no time to second-guess ourselves. We need to gather our supplies and set our course," he stated firmly, urging them to focus on what was at hand. The team nodded, each member leaning into their shared mission of confronting the syndicate and reclaiming control. Elowen took a deep breath, forcing the doubt from her mind as she prepared to play her part in the plan. "I'll coordinate with the contacts I spoke to earlier. They can help secure what we need," Aiden chimed in, his voice steady yet cautious. "And I can gather more intel on the syndicate's movements while we prepare. We'll have to stay one step ahead." Feeling the urgency pulse within the group, Cale directed them to gather what resources they could, acknowledging the various strengths each member brought to the table. "Let's stay connected and adapt as we go," he encouraged, bolstering their resolve as they began to prepare for the challenges that lay ahead. As they began their preparations, the atmosphere buzzed with a mix of apprehension and resolve. Cale moved among his teammates, assessing their readiness and gauging their morale. He approached Aiden, who was meticulously checking the equipment. "How are you holding up?" he asked, recognizing the stress playing on his friend's features. Aiden glanced up, a hint of anxiety in his eyes. "Just thinking about what could go wrong." "We've been lucky so far." "Luck won't carry us through this," Cale replied, offering reassurance. "We have to stay focused and make sure we're all on the same page." Meanwhile, Elowen organized the supplies, the weight of responsibility pressing down on her as she noticed some teammates exchanging worried glances. "I know the stakes are high, but we're stronger together than we've ever been," she encouraged, raising her voice to fill the room with conviction. Hearing her words, the team rallied, a growing determination boiling up as they understood that trust and unity could be their greatest assets in confronting the challenges ahead. As the team continued to prepare, Cale felt the weight of their shared mission settle over him, each movement a reminder of what was at stake. "Let's finalize our strategy before we move out," he said, gathering everyone's attention. Elowen raised her hand, clearly eager to contribute. "We should consider the possible routes the syndicate might take in response to our actions. We can't underestimate their ability to adapt." Aiden chimed in. "And if they respond aggressively, we'll need a plan for retreat and regrouping. We can't afford to lose anyone else." Cale nodded, appreciating their insights and the growing cohesion in their decision-making. "Agreed. We'll remain nimble on our feet, ready to shift strategies if we hit obstacles." The atmosphere buzzed with renewed energy as they mapped out contingencies, their collaboration sharpening the focus of their mission and solidifying their commitment to one another. With their roles clearly defined, they prepared to face the challenges ahead, a growing sense of unity nurturing their resolve as they acknowledged the importance of working together in the face of uncertainty. With the plan taking shape, the atmosphere buzzed with anticipation as the team gathered their belongings, ready to embark on their mission. Cale moved through the group, ensuring everyone was equipped and understood their roles. "Double-check your gear. We can't afford any mishaps," he instructed, his authoritative tone reinforcing their shared commitment. Elowen felt her heart pounding with a mix of excitement and anxiety as she gathered her notes. She glanced at Aiden, who was double-checking his equipment, his focused demeanor reassuring her of their teamwork. "Remember to communicate clearly, no matter what happens," she said, instilling a sense of confidence in her peers as they prepared to face the unexpected. A faint smile appeared on Aiden's face, and he nodded in agreement. "We've got each other's backs. Let's do this." As they made their way toward the exit, Elowen felt a surge of determination, knowing that their collective efforts would dictate the outcome of their challenge, ready to face whatever awaited them outside. As the team emerged into the cool evening air, excitement mixed with apprehension coursed through them. Cale took a moment to breathe deeply, feeling the weight of their shared mission settle over him like a cloak. "Stay vigilant," he reminded them as they moved into the shadows of the city, the streets filled with a mix of familiar sounds and the distant hum of energy. Elowen glanced at the darkening sky, the stars beginning to peek through the clouds, a reminder of the adventure that awaited them. Beside her, Aiden kept pace, his eyes scanning the alleys for any signs of trouble. "This is it. Let's show them what we're made of," he said, enthusiasm glimmering in his tone. With renewed determination, they pressed onward, their commitment to one another solidifying as they prepared to face the challenges that lay ahead, ready to take control of their fate as a united front. Chapter 22, The Cost of Ambition. The aftermath of their mission settled heavily in the air as Cale and the team regrouped in their safe house, the tension palpable as they faced the consequences of their actions. Elowen felt a knot tightening in her stomach, her mind replaying the moments of the mission and the things that had gone wrong. "Did we even achieve what we set out to do?" she murmured, glancing at the others, trying to gauge their reactions. Cale inhaled sharply, aware of the weight of her words, as a silence fell over the room, each member grappling with the challenges they had faced. "We made progress, but it came with losses," he finally replied, his voice steady as he sought to provide clarity amid the wave of emotions. Elowen nodded, submitting to the fact that they had indeed lost something crucial during their attempt to disrupt the syndicate's operations, an understanding that deepened her resolve to learn from their experience. Cale gathered the team around the table strewn with maps and notes, the atmosphere thick with the weight of their recent failure. "We need to figure out what went wrong," he said, glancing from face to face, sensing the mixed emotions swirling among them. Elowen leaned forward, her brow furrowed in concentration. "I think we underestimated their security. We have to realize how formidable they really are." Aiden crossed his arms, frustration evident as he added, "Maybe we should have waited for more intel before launching our attack. It feels like we jumped in too quickly." Cale held their gazes, understanding the validity of their points, but feeling the urge to shift the conversation towards solutions. "We can't dwell on what happened. Instead, Let's focus on how we adapt our strategy moving forward. Their voices filled the room as they began to brainstorm adjustments, each member contributing their thoughts and ideas, reigniting a sense of collaboration that would be crucial for their next steps. Cale felt a flicker of hope as he witnessed their commitment to growth, recognizing that this challenge was part of a larger journey towards change and reclaiming their power. As they delved deeper into analysis, Cale sensed the weight of their discussions transform the atmosphere, a blend of determination and apprehension. One team member brought up their previous encounters with the syndicate, recalling the close calls they had faced. "We can't let ourselves forget the last time we went in without a clear strategy. We barely made it out," they warned, highlighting the shadows of doubt lingering in their minds. Elowin, feeling the tension rise, countered, "But we also learned from that, didn't we? We can't let fear paralyze us. Every setback offers a lesson." Cale glanced around the table, aware that each member was grappling with their emotions while recognizing the inevitability of change. "I appreciate your insights," he said, trying to unify their thoughts. "Let's extract the lessons from our past mistakes and combine that knowledge with the new intel we have." Their conversation continued to flow, each voice contributing to a newfound sense of purpose and collaboration, reinforcing their commitment to adapt and evolve as a team. Cale felt proud to witness their resilience, aware that this moment of reflection was just as vital as their past actions, helping shape a path toward success and solidarity in facing the syndicate again. Cale leaned back in his chair, taking a moment to reflect as the team brainstormed solutions, their voices creating a tapestry of ideas in the air. He observed the way Elowin's confidence had flourished throughout their discussions, her contributions becoming more assertive and nuanced, making connections that others might overlook. "Perhaps we can gather support from other factions in the city. The more allies we have, the stronger our position will be," she suggested, her eyes alight with determination. Aiden nodded in agreement, seeing the vision of a united front forming among them as they recognized the importance of collaboration. Cale's heart swelled with pride, knowing their experiences had forged a bond that enabled them to navigate through uncertainty together. "Let's reach out to those we trust and solidify our alliances. We can't operate in isolation if we want to disrupt the syndicate effectively," he added, reinforcing a plan that echoed their collective growth. Feeling the momentum shift in their favor, Cale understood that this was not only about reclaiming their power, but also about redefining what it meant to be a team, ready to face the future with strength and resolve. As the conversation unfolded, Cale felt a wave of camaraderie envelop the room, bolstering their resolve to face the challenges ahead. Elowin turned to Aiden, her gaze unwavering. "We have to be strategic. Every ally we gather could tip the scales in our favor," she said, her voice filled with conviction. Aiden looked around the room, taking in the nods of agreement from the rest of the team. "I'll reach out to the merchants and see if we can secure some additional resources," he offered, showing his willingness to contribute. Cale watched as the team began to swap ideas and strategies with renewed enthusiasm, each member stepping up to take charge of their part in the plan. The dynamic had shifted, their earlier reluctance transformed into a collective determination that inspired Cale. Elowin's leadership shone through, reflecting how their experiences had shaped not just their strategy, but also their identities as a united front against the syndicate. With their plans taking shape, the team felt a renewed sense of purpose as they prepared to execute their strategy. Cale encouraged everyone to remain focused, the hum of excitement anchoring their unity as they finalized their objectives. "Remember, we've built this together. Each of you brings something vital to the table," he said, locking eyes with each team member to reinforce their commitment and cohesion. Elowin felt a swell of pride at his words, recognizing how their collective experiences had forged deeper connections. "Let's ensure that we have clear communication throughout this process. If anything changes, we adapt as a team," she added, her determination resonating with the group. As they moved into their preparations, the energy in the room shifted to one of optimism and collaboration, solidifying their resolve to confront the syndicate with a shared commitment to success. Chapter 23, Seeking Allies. Elwyn and Kale made their way through the bustling marketplace, the vibrant sounds of haggling vendors filling the air with a sense of urgency and energy. They were on a mission to gather allies, and the stakes felt higher with every step they took. Spotting a familiar face among the crowd, Elwyn raised her hand and called out, "Fira, over here." The vendor turned, her eyes lighting up with recognition as she navigated through the throng to meet them. "What brings you two here? I didn't expect to see you until later," Fira remarked, her tone curious as she assessed their serious expressions. Kale glanced around to ensure they were not being overheard, lowering his voice. "We need your help. The syndicate's plans are more dangerous than we thought, and we're gathering support." Fira's expression shifted from surprise to concern as she absorbed their urgent request. "More dangerous how?" she asked, leaning in closer, her voice dropping to a whisper as she glanced around for any unwanted attention. Kale explained, detailing their recent encounters with the syndicate and the intel they had discovered about the increased shipments. "They're bolstering their resources, Fira. If we don't act now, they could strengthen their hold over the city," he urged, urgency lacing his words. Elwyn interjected, "We're hoping to rally support from local factions. Your connections could help us persuade others to join our cause." Fira nodded slowly, deep in thought as she considered their proposal, the weight of the situation palpable in the air between them. "All right," she finally said, firm determination in her voice. "I can reach out to some contacts, but you need to be careful. Trust is thin around here." As they stood together in the crowded marketplace, Fira's experience weighed heavily on Elwyn's mind. "Do you really believe we have a chance against the syndicate?" Fira asked, her gaze flickering between Kale and Elwyn, searching for conviction. Elwyn felt a mix of determination and fear as she responded, "We have to believe in our cause. If we don't stand up against them, who will?" Kale nodded, feeling the strength of Elwyn's conviction bolster his own resolve. "Every ally we gather makes us stronger. It's a risk worth taking." Fira raised an eyebrow, skepticism lingering in her expression, but slowly giving way to understanding. "Then you need to convince the others. Many are afraid and unsure of where loyalties lie." Elwyn exchanged determined glances with Kale, ready to face the challenge head-on. "We'll share our story and our goals. If they understand what's at stake, they might join us." With a plan taking shape, Elwyn felt the excitement of their mission reignite, empowering her to overcome the obstacles ahead as they sought to gather support against the syndicate. Elwyn felt a surge of adrenaline as they finalized their plans, her mind racing with potential scenarios ahead. Kale turned to the group, his voice steady as he emphasized the importance of their approach. "Remember, it's about unity. We can't afford to let fear dictate our actions." The murmurs of agreement from the team filled the air, and Aiden added, "If we can present a united front, it will show others we're serious about this." As they prepared to approach potential allies, Elwyn caught Fira's eye, a glint of respect shining through her uncertainty. "If we can convince a few key figures, we might start a ripple effect among the others," Fira suggested. Kale nodded, appreciating her insight as he recognized how crucial these discussions would be to their success. With their focus sharpened and a shared sense of determination lighting the way, Elwyn felt ready to face the challenges ahead, knowing that their growing relationships would be vital in the fight against the syndicate. With their plans set in motion, Elwyn led the way through the bustling crowd, her heart pounding with a mix of excitement and anxiety. "Stay close and follow my lead," she instructed the team, her determination lending strength to their formation as they approached a group of influential merchants. Aiden walked beside her, his expression serious. "Remember, we need to be persuasive. Our goal is to gain their trust." Elwyn nodded, recalling their previous discussions as she approached the merchants, ready to present their case. "Excuse me, we need to talk about the syndicate and how it threatens our community," she began, her voice clear and confident, cutting through the noise surrounding them. The merchants exchanged glances, a mix of curiosity and skepticism lingering in their expressions as they leaned in, eager to hear what she had to say. As Elwyn spoke, the merchants listened intently, their expressions shifting from skepticism to intrigue as she detailed the syndicate's recent activities and the threats to their livelihoods. "This isn't just about us, it's about the entire community," she emphasized, her passion igniting a spark of understanding among them. One merchant leaned forward, concern etched on his face. "But what can we do? The syndicate is powerful." Cale stepped in, his voice steady and confident. "Together, we can disrupt their operations. If we unite our resources and knowledge, we stand a chance." Elowen felt a wave of hope wash over her as murmurs of agreement began to ripple through the group, gradually building momentum for their cause. As they exchanged ideas and strategies, the atmosphere transformed into one of solidarity, each merchant recognizing the strength in collaboration and the potential to reclaim their community from the syndicate's grasp. Chapter 24, The Crucial Sacrifice. Elowen stood at the center of the meeting, scanning the faces of her allies gathered around her, the air thick with anticipation and tension. They had dedicated themselves to developing a plan to counter the syndicate, and now the moment of truth had arrived. "We need to make a decisive move to destabilize their operations," she began, her voice steady, ready to rally them with a sense of purpose. The weight of anticipation settled in as heads nodded, but she felt a knot in her stomach as she sensed the gravity of what was at stake. "A coordinated strike on one of their shipments could open up new opportunities for us to regain control," she continued, laying out the strategy with clarity and intent. As the discussions unfolded, she felt the collective resolve solidifying around her, recognizing that this was not just a battle for power. It was a fight for their futures. As the discussion progressed, Cale felt the tension in the room elevate, offering input alongside Elowen as they laid out the specifics of their plan. "Timing is crucial," he pointed out, scanning the map sprawled across the table, narrowing his focus on potential weaknesses in the syndicate's defenses. Elowen nodded, appreciating the strategic insights he brought to the conversation. "If we time our strike when they least expect it, we can maximize our advantage." A nervous murmur swept through the group as various members exchanged glances, their apprehension about the potential backlash palpable. "Remember, we're not just striking at their resources. We're sending a message," Elowen added, her resolve evident as she encouraged them to dig deep into their courage. Feeling the weight of their collective determination, Cale realized this moment was pivotal, shaping the course of their mission and their efforts to reclaim control from the syndicate. They adjusted their plans further, knowing that being united and prepared would be their greatest strength against the challenges lurking ahead. Cale looked around the room, his eyes catching those of his teammates, sensing the weight of shared responsibility pressing upon them. "We will need all hands on deck for this strike," he said, breaking the silence that hung over the group as the gravity of their plan settled in. One of the team members raised a hand, hesitation evident in their voice. "What if the syndicate retaliates? We've already been through so much." Elowen stepped forward, her voice firm. "We'll face that if it comes. Right now, we must focus on what we can control, our strategy and our teamwork," Aiden added, supportive of her stance. "By standing together, we amplify our strength. We can't let fear dictate our actions." Seeing the resolve start to return, Cale felt a sense of confidence swell within the group. They were no longer just individual allies. They were a collective force ready to challenge the syndicate and reclaim their community. With their minds aligned and spirits reinforced, Cale knew that this crucial moment would define not only their mission, but also their bond as a team. Elowen felt the energy in the room shift as everyone gathered their thoughts and prepared to take action. A sense of purpose radiated from Cale as he laid out the plan with clear precision. "We'll need to split into two groups. One will secure the perimeter, while the other handles the shipment directly." The team nodded, their determination echoing in the shared space, but a lingering doubt floated among them. What if we're spotted before we can implement the plan? One member raised, their voice laced with anxiety. Cale responded confidently, "If we stick to the shadows and communicate effectively, we can adapt as needed. Our previous experiences have prepared us for this." Feeling the weight of their previous successes, Elowen raised her chin higher, ready to affirm the possibility of victory. Let's trust in our training and in each other. We'll make this work. With those words, the team solidified their commitment, a palpable sense of unity wrapping around them as they prepared to take control of their destiny. With their plan established, Kale felt a surge of adrenaline as they prepared to move out, knowing that every moment mattered. "Gather your things quickly. We leave in 5, he instructed, urgency in his tone as they began to organize their equipment for the mission ahead. Elowen focused on ensuring all their supplies were secured, feeling the weight of the responsibility settle over her as she checked each item off her mental list. As she worked, Aiden approached her, his expression serious. "Are you ready for what might happen? This isn't just another mission." Elowen paused, looking into his eyes. "I know, but we can't shy away from the truth we've uncovered. We have to act." Nods of agreement rippled through their group, a shared understanding forming as they recognized the importance of their roles in the battle to come. Kale sensed the unity building among them, reinforcing the belief that they had not only prepared for the challenges ahead, but had also grown stronger together through their commitment to the cause. As they stepped out into the cool evening air, a shared sense of purpose enveloped them, pushing aside the collective anxiety that had lingered. Kale led the way, his demeanor focused and resolute, ensuring that everyone remained vigilant and ready for what lay ahead. Elowen felt a mix of excitement and determination coursing through her, her senses heightened as they navigated the familiar streets of the city, now filled with a new sense of urgency. "Stay close and keep your eyes open," Kale reminded, glancing back to reinforce their unity as they headed toward the rendezvous point for their distraction. Elowen exchanged a look with Aiden, and the silent reassurance between them strengthened their resolve, a testament to their bond forged through trials. With every step, she felt the weight of their mission settle deep within her, intertwining with the excitement of facing the unknown and reclaiming the power that had been taken from them. Chapter 25, Gathering Strength. In the early hours of the morning, Elowen gathered the scattered notes and resources they had amassed, preparing for the next phase of their mission. The sanctuary was filled with a quiet intensity as the team moved about. Each member focused on their specific tasks. Kale ran through the list of supplies, his voice steady and authoritative. "We need to ensure everyone knows their roles before we proceed. Each detail counts." Elowen arranged the maps on the table, feeling the weight of responsibility settle on her shoulders as she considered the pivotal decisions ahead. As she reviewed their plans, Aiden approached, a look of determination on his face. "I'm ready to support you, whatever you need," he said, reinforcing their partnership. "Thanks, Aiden. We're in this together," she replied, the bond between them strengthening as they prepared to face the challenges that lay ahead. Elowen felt the energy in the room shift as the team gathered around the table, strategizing the implementation of their plan. "Let's set clear objectives for each phase," Kale proposed, his finger tracing the routes on the map, highlighting strategic points of interest. Aiden chimed in. "We should also identify potential risks at each stage. We can't afford any surprises." Elowen nodded, encouraged by their proactive approach. "Exactly. If we can anticipate challenges ahead of time, we'll be better equipped to handle them." The group engaged in a lively discussion, voices rising as everyone proposed various solutions, their ideas weaving together into a cohesive strategy. As they shared insights, Elowen could feel their confidence growing, the bonds of trust solidifying amongst them, strengthening their resolve to take on the syndicate's threats. Kale smiled, feeling the momentum build, knowing that their collective strengths would be key as they prepared to execute the first phase of their mission. As they finalized their strategy, Elowen leaned in, her eyes scanning the notes spread across the table, a rush of determination fueling her thoughts. "We must make sure everyone knows their role and is clear on the signals we've established," she said, her voice steady yet passionate. Kale nodded, appreciating her focus. "If something goes wrong, communication will be vital. We need to react quickly." Aiden gathered the team's equipment, ensuring everything was accounted for. "Let's double-check our supplies and make sure we have what we need for contingencies," he added, further reinforcing their preparation. Elowen felt a sense of solidarity wash over her as they worked together, each member contributing their strengths to secure the success of their mission. The atmosphere buzzed with energy, the earlier doubts slowly fading away as they transitioned into a united front, ready to tackle the challenges that awaited them. As they finished their preparations, Elowen knew that this moment was a testament to their growth, and with every ounce of confidence, she felt assured that they were capable of facing whatever came next. Cale spread the maps out one last time, tracing their escape routes with his finger as the team gathered around him, the atmosphere thick with anticipation. "Remember," he said, locking eyes with each of them, "this is just as much about what we find as it is about how we get out." Elowen felt her pulse quicken, the weight of responsibility settling over her once more as they prepared for their upcoming mission. Aiden replayed their objectives in his mind, determined to ensure there were no misunderstandings. "If we stick to the plan and adapt as needed, we'll increase our chances of success." Elowen nodded vigorously, feeling more confident with each passing moment. "And if we can establish connections while gathering intel, we'll strengthen our position." The energy in the room surged as they recognized the gravity of what lay ahead, their shared commitment igniting the fire necessary to confront the syndicate. Cale sensed the unity in their resolve, ready to guide them as they stepped into the unknown, determined to reclaim their community's peace and safety. As the team finalized their preparations, a sense of urgency filled the air, each member feeling the weight of their responsibility. Cale walked among them, offering encouragement as they secured their gear and reviewed their roles one last time. "Stay alert and remember your training," he reminded them, his voice strong as he emphasized the importance of focus. Elowen arranged her notes and supplies, feeling a determined resolve settle within her as she prepared for the mission ahead. But a flicker of doubt crossed her mind. "What if they're more prepared than we think?" she voiced, hesitating for a moment as she glanced at Aiden, whose steady presence was reassuring. Aiden responded with a confidence that bolstered her spirits. "We adapt as we go. That's what we've trained for." With their collective commitment reaffirmed, they gathered their belongings and made their way toward the exit, ready to confront the challenges that awaited them. As they stepped out into the cool night, the change in temperature sent a rush of adrenaline through Elowen and the others. Cale took a moment to survey the surroundings, his instincts sharpening as they prepared to navigate the city under the cover of darkness. "Stay close and keep your eyes peeled," he instructed, leading the way as they moved stealthily through the winding streets. Elowen felt a mix of excitement and fear. The thrill of the mission propelled her forward, eager to uncover what lay ahead. Aiden walked alongside her, his presence reassuring despite the tension, a reminder that they were a united front in the face of danger. Together, they pushed into the shadows, ready to confront whatever awaited them, determined to reclaim their community's safety and uncover the truth behind the syndicate's nefarious plans. Chapter 26, The Test of Trust. The atmosphere hung heavy with tension as Elowen and her team prepared for a crucial test, each member acutely aware of the stakes involved. They had decided to undertake a daring mission, intending to rescue a captured ally who possessed vital information about the syndicate's plans. "Everyone knows their roles, right?" Cale asked, his voice steady as he gathered them in a small circle, ensuring each person felt prepared and unified. Elowen felt the weight of responsibility settle in her chest, understanding that this mission carried risks far beyond their previous encounters. "Let's move quickly and quietly. We need to be in and out before anyone realizes we're there," Aiden added, determination sparking in his eyes as he reviewed the plan. Elowen took a deep breath, ready to face the challenge ahead, knowing that their preparation and teamwork would be put to the test like never before. As they approached the syndicate's hideout, the adrenaline coursing through Elowen's veins matched the steady rhythm of her footsteps. She could feel the weight of the moment, knowing that the success of their mission hinged on every decision they were about to make. "Stay close and follow my lead," Cale instructed, his voice low yet firm, providing the guidance they needed to navigate the uncertainty ahead. Elowen glanced at Aiden, who nodded back, their shared determination offering reassurance amidst the rising tension. As they reached the entrance, a faint light flickered from within, reminding them of the immediate danger lurking just beyond the threshold. Taking a deep breath, Eowyn steeled herself, aware that this mission was not just about rescue, but also about proving to themselves that they could face the syndicate head-on. As they slipped inside the hideout, the dim light revealed a chaotic scene, crates and equipment scattered about, the air thick with tension. Kale gestured for silence, leading them deeper into the shadows, instinctively aware of the need to remain undetected. Eowyn's heart raced as she took in the layout, noting the positions of guards and the exits, her mind racing to formulate a plan. "Keep low and stay alert," Kale whispered, his tone sharp and commanding, igniting a sense of urgency among the team. Aiden moved cautiously beside Eowyn, his eyes scanning for any signs of danger, aware that trust in one another would be their greatest asset. Eowyn felt a surge of adrenaline as they approached the area where their ally was held, understanding that this critical moment would test not just their skills, but their bonds as a team. As they crept further into the hideout, Eowyn's instincts heightened. She could sense the palpable tension in the air. Suddenly, they heard a muffled sound, and Kale motioned for them to halt, signaling for silence as he strained to listen. "What was that?" Aiden whispered, his eyes narrowing as he searched for the source of the noise. Eowyn leaned in closer, her heart racing as she recognized a familiar voice coming from a nearby room. "It's our ally," she said, a mix of urgency and hope filling her as they pressed their ears against the wall to hear more. Kale nodded, determination etched on his face. "We need to act quickly. If they realize we're here, we won't have a chance to rescue him." The team exchanged quick glances, the stakes rising as they prepared to act, the weight of the moment propelling them forward with a renewed sense of purpose. Kale took a deep breath, signaling the team to advance toward the source of the voice, their hearts pounding with anticipation. Eowyn felt a rush of adrenaline as they moved quietly through the corridor, acutely aware of the need for silence, their earlier training echoing in her mind. Aiden positioned himself closer to the door, ready to take action, while Eowyn's mind raced with strategic thoughts. She knew they had to be prepared for anything. "When we get in there, we move fast," Kale whispered, his voice steady as he focused on the door ahead. With a quick nod from Eowyn, they each fell into position, ready to breach the door and rescue their ally. As they prepared to make their move, a wave of determination washed over Eowyn. She understood that this moment would not only define their mission, but also reinforce the bonds they had forged together. Kale glanced at Eowyn and Aiden, his eyes locking with theirs in silent determination as he nodded, signaling them to move. With a swift push, they opened the door, the creak of the hinges piercing the tension in the air. Inside, they quickly spotted their ally bound to a chair, worn and weary but alive, relief flooding through Eowyn as she rushed forward. "Hang on, we're here to help," she called, quickly assessing the ropes that bound him, her fingers moving deftly as she worked to free him. Kale kept watch, his senses heightened as he listened for any sign of an approaching guard, aware that time was of the essence. Aiden joined Eowyn, helping to loosen the ropes, while their ally's gratitude shone through the weariness in his eyes, reinforcing their determination to overcome the challenges ahead. Chapter 27, The Final Preparations. Eowyn and her team gathered in a small, dimly lit room to finalize their plan, the air thick with anticipation and the scent of old parchment. Kale stood at the center of the table, maps and sketches spread before them, pointing to locations they would target. "Now that we have our ally back, it's time to take action. We need to disrupt their operations," he stated, his tone resolute, focusing their energy on moving forward. Eowyn felt a surge of determination as she listened, keenly aware that each detail needed to be ironed out. "We should prepare for contingencies. If something goes wrong, we need a way to adapt and retreat." The team nodded, embracing the understanding that their mission would require flexibility and teamwork, their earlier experiences shaping their resolve. Aiden leaned in, adding, "If we set traps or signals, we can maintain some level of control over the situation as we move." As their discussions unfolded, Eowyn felt confidence building within the group. each member committing to the tasks ahead, ready to bring their plan to fruition. Kale moved to gather supplies, directing Aiden to help him assemble the necessary equipment for their plan. Elowen watched as they worked together, their movements synchronized with a focus that reflected their practice and shared goals. "We'll need ropes, some basic tools, and anything we can use to create diversions," Kale instructed, keenly aware of the importance of preparation. Elowen glanced through their supplies, feeling the weight of responsibility tighten in her chest. "I'll gather the materials for the traps," she offered, determination fueling her resolve. "Let's ensure we're all on the same page about our timing," Aiden added, double-checking their gear as he spoke. As they prepared, Elowen felt a sense of camaraderie surge between them, grateful for the teamwork that had become their foundation, bolstering their commitment to face the challenges ahead. As they finalized their preparations, the tension in the room began to shift to a palpable sense of determination. "We'll set the traps near the expected routes and keep the signals clear," Kale outlined, pointing to their strategized map as he reinforced the importance of execution. Elowen concentrated on the logistics, mentally sorting through the tasks to ensure everything was in place. "I'll take care of the signals. We need to time everything perfectly." Aiden glanced around, his brow furrowed in thought. "And what if the guards change their routine? We need to stay adaptable if things go sideways." Kale acknowledged his concern with a nod, appreciating the proactive thinking. "Then we adjust on the fly. We've trained for this. Trust in our abilities." Feeling the energy shift as everyone rallied behind the plan, Elowen locked eyes with Kale and Aiden, a sense of unity growing among them as they each recognized the strength of their collaboration. With a final check of their supplies, they prepared to step into the unknown, the resolve to face whatever came next, fortifying their spirits as they united once more for their cause. As they prepared to execute their plan, Kale gathered his team for one last review, his eyes scanning their determined faces, feeling the weight of their mission. "Once we initiate the traps, we need to stay sharp and move quickly," he instructed, emphasizing the need for focus as he highlighted key locations on the map. Elowen stepped forward, ready to take charge of her specific role. "I'll handle the signals and monitor the situation from a vantage point. If anything changes, I'll let you know." Aiden adjusted his gear, ensuring that he was well prepared for their roles, looking at Kale with resolve. "Just give us the signal, and we'll follow your lead." The energy in the room surged as they locked in on their individual objectives, everyone understanding the importance of each decision at this critical juncture. With a final glance around the group, Kale felt pride swell within him, knowing that they had trained and prepared for this moment, each of their strengths intertwining as they ventured into the uncertainty ahead. Ready to take their route into the heart of the syndicate's operations, they stepped forward as a united front, determined to reclaim their agency and restore peace to their community. As they moved into position, the weight of expectation hung in the air, each member acutely aware that their next steps could determine the outcome of their mission. Kale glanced at Elowen, her determined expression providing a steady source of reassurance. "Are you ready?" he asked, ensuring she felt confident in her role. "I'm ready," she replied, feeling the adrenaline surge through her as they prepared for the execution of their plan. Aiden, positioned nearby, took a deep breath, mentally reviewing their agreement on signals, ready to respond to any changes in the atmosphere. "Let's keep our eyes open and adapt as needed," he reminded the group, his voice steady in the charged environment. As they settled into their respective roles, Kale felt a blend of anticipation and resolve fill the space around them, reinforcing the bond they had forged through their shared experiences. With a final check on their traps and signals in place, they felt a united sense of purpose crystallize, ready to face the uncertainty that lay ahead. With the preparations finally complete, the moment of action arrived, leaving the group buzzing with a mixture of excitement and anxiety. Kale surveyed the surroundings, his heart racing as he felt the anticipation building in the air. The knowledge of what was at stake sharpened his focus. "Remember your positions and stay alert. We move as one," he instructed, every word carrying the weight of their mission. Elowen took a deep breath, the thrill of the upcoming challenge mixing with the resolve to see it through, fully aware of her role in the operation. As they settled into silence, listening for the right moment, Aiden caught Kale's eye with a determined nod, understanding the importance of their unity in this pivotal moment. Together they stood, ready to unleash their plan, confident that their collective effort and newfound trust would guide them through the uncertain terrain ahead. Chapter 28, The Confrontation. As the sun dipped below the horizon, casting long shadows across the warehouse, Kale felt the adrenaline rise in anticipation of the confrontation ahead. He adjusted his stance, a determination settling in as he called for the team to gather around him one last time. "This is our moment," he said, his voice steady, capturing their attention and focus as they prepared for the challenge. Elowen could sense the tension in the air, her heart racing, blending fear with excitement. "Everything we've worked for leads to this," Kale continued, locking eyes with each member of the group, ensuring they understood the stakes involved. With that, they crossed the threshold into the chaos of the warehouse, ready to execute their carefully laid plan as a united front, prepared to confront whatever lay in wait. Inside the warehouse, the air crackled with tension as Kale took in the full scope of the operation unfolding before them. He spotted a group of syndicate members engaged in conversation, their demeanor self-assured, oblivious to the threat lurking just beyond their field of view. "Stay low and keep your eyes open," he whispered, signaling the team to spread out, adopting positions that offered them both cover and vantage points. Elowen glanced at Aiden, sharing a determined nod before she crouched behind a stack of barrels, her mind racing with the potential outcomes of their plan. As they positioned themselves, Kale focused on the conversations, looking for critical information he could leverage to disrupt their enemies. Feeling a surge of confidence, he knew they were ready to execute the plan, each heartbeat echoing the shared commitment they had forged through their journey together. The atmosphere within the warehouse felt charged as Kale silently observed the syndicate members, listening intently to their plans while formulating his next steps. "If we increase the shipments, we can corner the market completely," one enforcer said, his words dripping with confidence, while another nodded in agreement. Elowen, crouched nearby, exchanged glances with Aiden, their expressions mirroring a shared recognition of the stakes involved. Kale leaned closer, straining to gather crucial information that could tip their mission in their favor, the details echoing in his mind as he pieced together their strategy. The team's earlier training surfaced, reminding him of the adaptability they'd practiced, and he felt the surge of teamwork strengthen his resolve. "Now's our chance," Kale whispered, ready to signal their action, knowing that this moment of stealth and precision could alter the balance of power against the syndicate. As Kale gave the signal, the team sprang into action, their movements synchronized in a well-rehearsed dance of efficiency and resolve. Elowen dashed forward, her heart pounding as she navigated the maze of crates, her focus sharp on the syndicate targets, ready to disrupt their plans. Aiden followed closely, using the element of surprise to his advantage as he tackled one of the enforcers, quickly disabling him before he could raise an alarm. Kale's instincts kicked in as he initiated a diversion, drawing the attention of other guards and creating chaos that worked in their favor. "Move quickly," he shouted, rallying his team as the sound of scuffling filled the air, the dynamic of the room shifting in their favor. Elowen felt a rush of exhilaration as they executed their plan, recognizing that their strength lay in their preparation and unity against a common foe. The chaos erupted around them, the air charged with tension as the syndicate members began to retaliate, scrambling to regain control. Kale kept a keen eye on the shifting dynamics, realizing that their chances hinged on how they adapted to the unfolding conflict. "Stick to the plan," he shouted, moving decisively to flank a group of enforcers who were trying to regroup. Elowen, spotting an opening, seized the moment to gather information from a fallen enforcer, her hands quickly rifling through pockets while keeping her awareness heightened. Aiden fought alongside her, expertly countering blows and disarming threats, showcasing their growth and mastery over the situation. Elowen felt the surge of teamwork as they navigated the fray, each decision they made demonstrating their evolving abilities to rise against adversity while maintaining focus on their ultimate goal. As the fight raged on, Kale felt a surge of adrenaline propelling him forward, recognizing the pivotal choices that could turn the tide in their favor. "Focus on the leader," he shouted, pointing toward the syndicate's ringleader, who was attempting to rally his forces amid the chaos. Elowen and Aiden exchanged decisive glances before nodding in agreement, knowing that neutralizing the leader would disrupt the syndicate's coordination. They fought their way through the confusion, dodging attacks and finding openings as they advanced toward their target, each move calculated and purposeful. Kale felt the energy shift as the tide began to change, their teamwork shining through as they drew closer to their goal. In that moment, he not only embraced the challenge at hand, but felt the weight of leadership bolster his resolve, his growth shaping the course of their mission as they confronted the heart of the syndicate. Chapter 29, The Aftermath. As the dust settled from the confrontation, Kale took a moment to assess the aftermath, the weight of their actions hanging heavy in the air. The warehouse, once bustling with syndicate members, now lay in disarray, a testament to their fierce fight for control. Elowen surveyed the scene, her heart sinking as she noticed the remnants of their struggle. Scattered crates, fallen adversaries, and the palpable silence that followed the chaos. "We did it," she whispered, a mix of disbelief and relief washing over her as reality sunk in. Kale scoured the area for their remaining allies, sensing that while they had achieved a victory, the cost was yet to be determined. With their win came destruction, and as the realization set in, Kale understood that they had unleashed consequences that would ripple beyond their immediate surroundings. Kale quickly turned to face his team, the gravity of their situation pressing down on him like a shroud. "Check on everyone," he commanded, urgency threading through his voice as he searched the area for any signs of injuries. Elowen moved quickly, looking for Aiden and others, her heart racing as she realized the toll the fight had taken. "Over here." Aiden's voice called out from behind a pile of crates, and Elowen rushed to his side, relieved to find him mostly unscathed but visibly shaken. "We need to regroup," Kale said, gathering everyone near the exit to assess their next steps and locate their missing allies. The atmosphere shifted as they processed the harsh realities of their actions, understanding that although they had achieved a victory, it came with significant losses and challenges they needed to navigate together. As the team gathered around Kale, he sensed a mixture of relief and uncertainty in the air, recognizing that their victory had come at a cost. "Take stock of our supplies and equipment. We may have some losses to account for," he instructed, his tone commanding as they began to assess the aftermath. Elowen rifled through their packs, noting any missing items, her heart heavy with concern for their missing allies. "We can't leave without knowing if everyone made it out," she said, her determination evident as she scanned the area. Aiden joined her, helping to secure their remaining resources, but his expression reflected the gravity of their situation. "If we don't regroup soon, we risk drawing more attention to ourselves." Kale took a deep breath, gathering his thoughts amid the chaos. "We'll need to consider our next steps carefully. There's no telling how the syndicate will retaliate." Elowen felt the weight of his words, aware that their path forward required not just tactical planning, but also a realignment of their priorities after witnessing the intensity of the conflict. Kale initiated a debriefing. The team's energy noticeably shifted as they began discussing the implications of their actions. "We need to understand the consequences of today's conflict," he began, addressing the assembled group, the weight of responsibility clear in his voice. Elowen listened intently, noting how their earlier victories now mingled with the gravity of the stakes. "Every action has ramifications," Kale continued, explaining how the syndicate might react, the need for caution sharpening their focus. A team member frowned, concerned about the immediate implications. "What if they come after us for this? We've given them a reason to retaliate," they voiced, underlining the tension in the room. "We'll have to be vigilant and prepare for their next moves," Kale responded, emphasizing their commitment as a unified front. This moment of reflection further forged their bond, allowing them to emerge stronger and more determined in their pursuit to reclaim what the syndicate threatened to take from their community. Elowen glanced around, reading the varied emotions on her teammates' faces as they processed the fallout of their recent encounter. "We need to solidify our next steps while the momentum is still in our favor," Cale urged, his voice strong, rallying their spirits in spite of the chaos left behind. Elowen felt a flicker of determination within her as she took a step forward. "Let's not let this defeat define us. We can regroup and refocus on our objectives. Let's use this knowledge against them." Aiden nodded, sharing in her resolve. "I can reach out to our contacts to get more intel on their movements. This isn't over." The atmosphere shifted as the team began discussing how to leverage what they had learned, ideas bouncing around the room like sparks igniting new energy. Cale felt the tide turning, the earlier anxiety fading as they embraced their renewed purpose, understanding that the journey ahead would require every ounce of their strength and unity. "Together, we can come back stronger and smarter," he concluded, feeling the collective determination swell around them as they prepared to forge a new path forward. As they regrouped, the weight of the mission settled over them, and Cale took a moment to assess their surroundings, noting the aftermath of their conflict. "Let's conduct a full sweep of the area," he instructed, his voice focused as he led the team to ensure no one was missed in the chaotic fray. Elowen moved alongside Aiden, a sense of urgency guiding her steps as they searched for clues or any abandoned resources left behind. "Over here," Aiden called out suddenly, revealing a cache of supplies long hidden beneath some debris, their potential boosting their morale. Elowen joined him, her heart racing with excitement as they uncovered vital items that could aid their next steps against the syndicate. As they inspected the supplies, Cale's voice broke through the bustle. "This is great, but we need to distribute the resources evenly. We can't let this go to waste." The team worked together, realizing that their ability to adapt to circumstances continued to strengthen their unity, reinforcing their resolve as they planned their next move. Chapter 30, A Moment of Clarity. As dawn broke over the horizon, Elowen sat with her team, the exhaustion of their recent efforts pulling at her. Yet a newfound clarity filled the space around them. They huddled in their safe house, reviewing the materials they had gathered, and she could feel the anticipation weaving through the air as they prepared for the decisions ahead. "Today feels different," she remarked quietly, her voice carrying a sense of hope as she contemplated the ways they could capitalize on their recent successes. Cale looked up, in tune with her sentiment. "It's a chance to forge a new path. We've gained the insights we need to challenge the syndicate effectively." Elowen felt the weight of his words resonate, understanding that this gathering wasn't just a review. It was an opportunity to align their visions and ambitions. As they shared their thoughts on next steps, Elowen's heart swelled with determination, the promise of what lay ahead illuminating their path as they prepared for their upcoming adventure. Elowen leaned over the table covered with maps and notes, a sense of purpose igniting within her as she began to outline their plan. "Based on what we learned from the last mission, we need to be proactive about our next moves," she stated, her fingers tracing potential routes on the map. Cale nodded, impressed by her initiative. "I agree. We can't let hesitation dictate our actions. We must act decisively." Aiden, listening intently, added, "And we need to ensure that everyone knows the plan. Clear communication will be crucial." Elowen felt the weight of his words as she considered the significance of clarity in their mission, understanding that it was essential to their success. "Let's set up a timeline for when to implement each part of the plan," she suggested, her heart racing as she envisioned the impact of their collaboration. As they worked together to map out their strategy, the energy in the room thrummed with anticipation, each member excited about the possibilities that lay ahead. With the plan taking shape, Cale felt the excitement in the room begin to rise. "Once we gather our resources, we need to ensure we enact our strategies in a timely manner," he reminded the group, eager to keep the momentum they had built. Elowen looked around, noting the eager faces of her teammates and the resolve solidifying among them. "We need to stay adaptable, though. Situations can change quickly." Aiden chimed in with a thoughtful nod. As long as we have contingency plans in place, we can handle whatever comes our way. The discussions flowed seamlessly, each team member contributing their insights, reflecting their commitment through action more than words. Elowen felt a thrill course through her as the collective energy pulsed in the air, signifying that they were ready to embrace the challenges ahead, united and resolute. As the team finalized their plan, Cale felt a sense of exhilaration wash over him, his confidence buoyed by the collective energy around them. "Let's make sure everyone understands their task and how it fits into the bigger picture," he said, wanting to reinforce the importance of unity in their efforts. Elowen stood taller, her spirit lifted as she took responsibility for coordinating communications during the execution of their strategy. "I'll handle the updates. If we need to adapt, I'll ensure everyone knows what to do." Aiden's focus shifted to the supplies, double-checking their equipment and affirming the roles each member would play in their plan. "I'll scout ahead and monitor any changes. We'll need to stay agile." Cale sensed the determination deepening in the group, each member stepping up to embrace their responsibilities. As they prepared to embark on their mission, he felt empowered by their unity. You ready to take on the challenges that awaited them and reclaim control from the syndicate. As they prepared to move out, Cale felt the adrenaline surge through him, a mixture of excitement and resolve coursing in his veins. "Let's stick to our timeline," he said, reinforcing the importance of timing in their mission. "Every moment counts, and we need to be precise." Elowen gathered her notes, her mind racing with strategies, understanding how critical this operation was to their overall goal. "Remember, the objective is to gather intel and create disruption," she reminded the team, her voice steady and confident, rallying them with clarity. Aiden checked the supplies once more, ensuring everything was in place, glancing at Cale and nodding with determination. "We're ready for this. We just need to stay sharp." Feeling the energy in the room rise, Cale recognized the strength in their preparation, knowing that their adaptation from earlier challenges had positioned them well for what lay ahead. With final affirmations, they stepped into the unknown, united by their shared commitment to confront the syndicate and reclaim their community's future. As they moved forward, Cale felt a renewed sense of purpose. "Let's stay close and communicate clearly," he instructed, mindful of the importance of teamwork in the forthcoming confrontation. Elowen glanced at Aiden, their understanding unspoken yet palpable, the bond they had forged over countless challenges solidifying in this critical moment. The streets began to grow quieter as they approached their target, tension mingling with anticipation in the air. "You ready?" Aiden asked Elowen, his gaze steady and reassuring. "I am," she replied, the echoes of their previous encounters fueling her resolve, her mind clear and focused on the mission at hand. With a shared nod, they stepped into the shadows, prepared to confront whatever awaited them, ready to utilize their hard-earned knowledge and strengthen the fight against the syndicate. Chapter 31, A New Normal. Elowen returned to the familiar surroundings of their community, the echoes of their recent missions still fresh in her mind. As she walked through the marketplace, she noticed the subtle changes in her demeanor. The confidence she had gained radiated from her in every interaction. Merchants exchanged greetings with her, their smiles reflecting acknowledgement of her efforts, and Elowen felt a sense of pride swell within her. She approached a vendor she often frequented, who smiled warmly. "You seem different, Elowen. Changed," he remarked, his interest piqued. "I've learned a lot," she replied, aware of how her experiences had reshaped her understanding of their world and her role within it. With every exchange, she could feel the nuances of her relationships shifting, the deeper connections created through shared struggles, enriching her sense of belonging in this vibrant community. Elowen continued through the marketplace, her senses heightened as she absorbed the familiar sights and sounds that surrounded her. People greeted her with warmth, their appreciation evident, which fueled her growing confidence each time they acknowledged her presence. As she approached a familiar group of friends, their faces lit up with excitement. "We heard about your mission. You made a real impact," one exclaimed, the camaraderie reinvigorating her spirit. "I couldn't have done it without my team," she replied, humility shaping her words as she recognized the collective effort that had led to their success. The laughter and chatter around her felt different now, a vibrant energy infused by the knowledge that they were all in this together, facing the complexities of their world side by side. Eowyn understood that her experiences had not only transformed her, but also inspired those around her, a ripple effect of growth and resilience that was beginning to reshape their community. As Eowyn exchanged stories with her friends, she sensed a shift in their perceptions of her, a newfound respect that hung in the air. One of them leaned closer, curiosity sparkling in their eyes. "What's next for you? Are you planning to take on more missions?" Eowyn paused, considering her response, the weight of possibility looming large in her thoughts. "I think there's much more to change in our community, and I want to be a part of that transformation." Her friends nodded, sharing in her vision as they encouraged her ambitions. "You should lead the next one." "You've already proven yourself," another chimed in, admiration threading through the conversation. Feeling a thrill at their confidence in her, she realized that her growth wasn't just personal, it inspired others to embrace their roles in the community. With each exchange, Eowyn felt her connections deepen, a web of relationships woven tighter through shared experiences and aspirations. She understood that stepping into this leadership role would not only shape her journey but also uplift those around her, forging a path toward a brighter future together. With her mind racing, Eowyn sketched out her aspirations further, expressing her desire to help others rise as well. "I want to mentor those who are ready to make a difference in our community," she stated, her passion evident as she shared her vision for what could be. Her friends listened attentively, nodding in agreement, their admiration for her growing with each spoken word. "You've already inspired so many of us," one of them replied, a hint of awe in their voice. "You could really lead the way." Eowyn felt a surge of energy from their encouragement, realizing that her journey had become intertwined with the hopes and futures of those around her. "I believe we can all contribute to something greater than ourselves," she added, emphasizing the importance of collective effort and shared responsibility. As the conversation unfolded, Eowyn understood that her growth had altered not only her path, but also the paths of others, forging new connections that would foster change throughout their community. Eowyn smiled as she reflected on the excitement surrounding her ambitions, knowing that taking on a leadership role would not only empower her, but also inspire others to follow suit. "We should start by organizing community workshops," she suggested, her voice brimming with enthusiasm. "We can educate people about the risks and how we can work together to combat the syndicate." Her friends exchanged glances, their expressions reflecting a blend of optimism and commitment to her vision. "Workshops would strengthen our network," one of them chimed in, visibly eager to be a part of the initiative. "We can invite different factions and gather their perspectives." Eowyn sensed their enthusiasm building, a shared understanding of the importance of collaboration evident in their demeanor. Kale stepped forward, energizing the room. "Let's get started on the logistics. We can make this happen if we all pitch in." Fueled by their collective passion, Eowyn felt more empowered than ever, ready to embrace the potential of their joint efforts, knowing that their growth would resonate far beyond their immediate circle. As the discussions wound down, Eowyn felt a growing sense of purpose radiating throughout the group. "We all have a role to play in shaping our community," she said, her eyes shining with conviction as she looked around at her friends. A moment of silence settled over the group, each member contemplating the potential of their collective vision. "Together, we can create a movement," Kale asserted, his voice filled with enthusiasm, igniting the room with renewed energy. "Yes, and every small act counts," Eowyn added, feeling the fervor of their mission wrap around them like a comforting blanket. As they finalized plans, her heart swelled with pride, knowing that their combined efforts would inspire change not just for themselves, but for everyone in need of a brighter future. Chapter 32, Mending the Fabric. Eowyn stood before the group, her heart racing as she addressed the unresolved conflicts that lingered within their team. "Before we move forward, we need to clear the air," she began, her voice steady, yet the vulnerability in her tone echoed the weight of their shared experiences. She looked at each member, her gaze lingering on those who had been affected by their recent decisions and the tumult of their journey together. "There are promises we need to fulfill and relationships that need mending," she continued, determination shining in her eyes, ready to confront the complexities of their dynamics. Kale stepped forward, nodding in agreement. "It's time for us to address the divisions that have formed and recognize how we can support each other moving forward." Elowen felt the tension in the room shift as they collectively acknowledged the importance of their connections, understanding that strengthening their bonds would be essential as they prepared for the challenges ahead. With a sense of resolve, she knew this moment was crucial in redefining their relationships and committing to growth beyond their individual journeys. Elowen took a deep breath, looking around at her teammates, each face reflecting a mix of anticipation and uncertainty. "We've all been through a lot," she began, her tone encouraging as she spoke about their journey thus far. "But it's important that we acknowledge the impact our actions have had on one another." One member raised their hand, visibly conflicted. "I felt sidelined during the last mission. It was tough to watch." Kale nodded, understanding the depth of the sentiment. "That's valid. We need to ensure everyone feels valued and included in our plans." Elowen stepped closer, wanting to engage with the affected team member. "Your ideas matter to us. I want to make sure we're all moving together." As discussions began to flow, the energy shifted, transforming the initial tension into a collaborative spirit, revealing their willingness to embrace change and support one another. With each voice that joined the conversation, Elowen felt the bonds among them strengthen, underpinning the foundation for a more united team. Kale glanced at Elowen, noticing the resolve in her expression as she navigated the conversation, her ability to connect with the group inspiring others to share their concerns as well. "I think we all need to be honest about how we've felt," another teammate spoke up, hesitating but determined. "I wasn't sure how to voice my frustrations without stepping on toes." "That's what this space is for," Elowen replied reassuringly, encouraging openness. "We need to foster an environment where everyone feels safe being honest." With each passing moment, members began to share their thoughts, revealing hidden frustrations and misunderstandings that had previously silenced them. Aiden's voice rose above the rest. "I felt overwhelmed during the last mission. I wasn't sure I could keep up." Elowen acknowledged him with a nod, her understanding evident. "We've all faced challenges, and it's okay to admit that we need help or support." Kale listened intently, realizing the significance of this moment. Every revelation brought them closer, forming a deeper bond as they embraced vulnerability and commitment to collective growth. Elowen felt the atmosphere shift as the raw honesty among the team began to foster a sense of understanding and solidarity. "By addressing our conflicts, we're not just mending relationships, but building a stronger foundation for what lies ahead," Kale remarked, encouraging the group to continue sharing. "I didn't realize how much I was bottling up until now," one member admitted, their vulnerability opening the door for others to reflect on their own experiences. Elowen interjected, "It's important that we all contribute to each discussion moving forward. Everyone's perspective is valuable." Kale nodded, appreciating her emphasis on inclusivity as he realized how this transformation within the team was altering their dynamics for the better. As they continued to converse, Elowen recognized that their willingness to confront uncomfortable truths was a significant step toward not only personal growth, but also the evolution of their mission. As the discussion deepened, Elowen felt a sense of clarity emerging within her, each shared story reinforcing the bonds among them. "We should take this momentum and channel it into our next mission," she proposed, envisioning how their unified front could help reclaim their community. Kale looked at her with appreciation, recognizing the potential in her suggestion. "If we harness this spirit of collaboration, we can approach our objectives with renewed vigor." One team member spoke up, filled with enthusiasm. "Let's not just aim to disrupt the syndicate, we can also inspire others to join us in rebuilding." Elowen nodded, feeling energized by the idea of rallying their community around them. turning the adversities they faced into a collective strength. Cale saw the flicker of determination in their eyes, reassuring him that their journey had sparked a change, one that would empower them to lead and inspire a broader movement. With newfound resolve, they embraced the possibility of transformation, ready to forge ahead not only for themselves, but for everyone they wished to protect. As the meeting drew to a close, Cale stood, feeling a renewed sense of purpose and clarity in the team's direction. "Let's put this into action. We can make a real difference," he urged, a fire igniting within him as he contemplated the path ahead. Elowen surveyed the room, seeing the determination carved into the faces of her teammates. "We take our plans to the community next week," she declared, excitement bubbling under the surface. One member raised a hand, a thoughtful expression on their face. "And what if we face resistance? We need a strategy to handle that." Cale nodded, appreciating the foresight. "We'll be transparent about our intentions. If we show that our goals align with the community's needs, they'll rally behind us." With each new development, Elowen could feel the bonds among them strengthen, recognizing that their unified vision could spark change far beyond their immediate situation. This was more than just an initiative. It signaled the beginning of a movement. Together they would rise, not just as a group, but as a powerful force for transformation. Chapter 33, New Beginnings. Elowen stood on the stage in the town square, the morning sun casting a warm glow over the gathering crowd. The atmosphere buzzed with excitement, a palpable energy, as she prepared to share their vision for a new beginning. With Cale by her side, she felt a surge of confidence flow through her, ready to embrace the opportunity that lay ahead. "Today we embark on a new journey together," she began, her voice carrying over the hushed crowd, capturing their attention as she spoke. As she looked out at the faces before her, she could see hope and curiosity reflected in their expressions, inspiring her to share the potential of what they could achieve as a united community. Elowen took a deep breath, knowing that this was just the start of something greater, a step toward inspiring change and inviting others to join them in their quest to reclaim their future. As Elowen shared the details of their mission, her words sparked murmurs of agreement and enthusiasm from the crowd. "We have the power to support one another, to push back against the forces that threaten our community," she declared, looking into the eyes of familiar faces that had witnessed their struggle. Several listeners leaned forward, intrigued by the prospect of joining the cause, their initial skepticism melting away under the warmth of her conviction. Cale stood beside her, observing how the crowd's energy shifted, the excitement building among them as they opened their minds to the possibilities. "Together, we can create a network of support that will challenge the status quo and bring about real change," he added, reinforcing Elowen's vision with strength and determination. As they spoke, Elowen felt a wave of optimism wash over her, recognizing that their journey was not just theirs alone. It was a rallying call for everyone who yearned for a brighter tomorrow. As the crowd began to disperse, whispers of excitement floated through the square, reflecting the hope Elowen had ignited. Many approached her and Cale, eager to learn more or offer their assistance, the promise of involvement reshaping their roles within the community. One elder stepped forward, a thoughtful expression on his face. "I've seen many movements come and go, but there's something different about this initiative. I want to help," he said, a firm resolve underpinning his words. Elowen's heart swelled with gratitude, recognizing how their efforts had resonated deeply with others. "Together, we can create lasting change," she affirmed, feeling the weight of responsibility growing lighter as allies began to emerge. As she exchanged ideas with the newcomers, Cale observed the dynamic shift, understanding that they were laying the groundwork for a powerful coalition fueled by shared vision and purpose. Elowen felt energized by the connections forming around her, knowing that this moment could set the stage for many future endeavors, each one building upon the foundation they had established. Elowen's heart raced as she looked around at the gathered crowd, their faces charged with hope and excitement, ready to embrace the change they were proposing. Cale stepped forward, his voice booming with authority. "This isn't just about us. It's about everyone in this community who felt unheard and vulnerable. Together, we'll forge a path that's inclusive and powerful." A wave of agreement rippled through the onlookers, their enthusiasm palpable as they began to discuss how they could contribute. Elowen felt a warmth in her chest, knowing that they had lit a fire in others, inspiring them to take action in their own right. A woman in the crowd raised her hand, a spark in her eye. "What can we do to start making this vision a reality?" "Let's gather again next week to plan out our first steps," Elowen suggested, the clarity of their next move solidifying in her mind. Pride swelled within her as she witnessed the community uniting, recognizing that their journey had opened doors for others, setting the stage for future adventures and challenges they would face together. As the crowd began to discuss tangible next steps, Elowen felt the energy buzz with excitement and anticipation, a thrill coursing through her veins. People started exchanging ideas, some forming small groups to brainstorm initiatives, while others sought to connect with those they hadn't met before. Cale moved through the crowd, engaging with individuals and listening to their thoughts, solidifying his role as a leader among them. A young man stepped forward, hesitating briefly before speaking up. "Can we form a task force to address the syndicate's influence? I know others who would help." Elowen felt a wave of gratitude wash over her. This was exactly what they needed. People willing to take action. "Absolutely. Let's organize volunteers to create that task force," she replied, her heart swelling with pride in their community's readiness to fight back. As conversations flourished, Elowen realized that this gathering signaled more than just a chance for planning. It was a transformative moment for everyone involved, each person stepping into a role that empowered them to shape their shared future. In that moment, she understood that the journey ahead would not only be about confronting the syndicate, but also about nurturing the growth of those around them as they built a stronger, more resilient community. Elowen glanced around the square, feeling the transformative energy that coursed through the assembled crowd, each person's enthusiasm weaving a tapestry of hope and determination. "Together, we can reclaim our city and ensure our voices are heard," she declared, her heart swelling at the sight of so many individuals willing to stand up for change. Cale nodded in agreement, sensing how their message resonated deeply with those gathered. As people began to exchange contacts and share ideas about how they could contribute, a sense of camaraderie blossomed, strengthening their collective resolve. Elowen felt a mix of pride and responsibility. She understood this moment was not just about rallying the community. It was a catalyst for empowerment, inspiring others to embrace their potential. With their ambitions aligned, Elowen recognized that the journey they had undertaken was just beginning, laying the groundwork for many future adventures as every individual felt equipped to face the challenges ahead.